regular meeting of the Village Romeo Board of Trustees to order will be held on Monday, November 21st, 2016 at 7 p.m. at the Romeo Community Center, 361 Morton Street, Romeo, Michigan. Please rise for the adjournment.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mike, take roll.
Bartholomew? Here. Edwards?
Here.
Fowler? Absent. Hart?
Here.
Melzon?
Here.
Poznansky?
Here.
President Sigler?
Present. Take a motion to approve the minutes from the meeting of
So moved.
October 17th.
Support.
Any discussion?
There was the, you let me know.
Or the, yeah, minutes.
Special events, St. Baldrick's should read South Main instead of North Main. I've already changed it in the special events permit.
Okay.
Anything else? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Take a motion to pay the bills.
I'll make the motion.
Support.
Can I ask a question?
Discussion.
May I ask a question? It was my understanding that in our contract with Mr. Petrino, once it expired, we re-upped it $2,000 for consulting on OPEB. However, there's a bill in here for writing an RFP, noted under the $2,000. So I'm wondering how we can pay an RFP out under what we contracted specifically consulting for
Right, what I believe we
OPEB.
did, we had 5,000 hit a cap, and what we did is extended it for 2,000, but it wasn't for just OPEC. The RFPs were in the process prior in the earlier work that he had done. So that was a completion of what we had.
Well, in the minutes, I asked for the minutes, it does say, for legal services, for approve an additional $2,000 for contacting services with Petrino to work on OPEB.
Yeah, and I don't think, well, I mean, I
I
don't
recall something like that too, and
Didn't we ask him to do that?
at the time,
Yeah, I mean, that was part of the purpose, but we
Skip
didn't
was
even know
here.
$2,000 was even a number. All we were doing is moving, we had to put a cap of 5,000, and what the board did is move it up to $7,000. Still working on the types of service. I think that was the intent anyway.
I believe last
Because
month
we
asked him
didn't
to do
get,
that.
we didn't even ask him as far as the OPEC.
yeah, Skip
But,
Right.
Right.
asked about the OPEB.
okay. But I mean, what I think the motion was is to extend our budget to continue his services. Because we didn't get a $2,000 was just a number. It never even looked at what the scope of that work was. For it to spend $2,000 to do OPEC was not the purpose.
Okay, that's what it stated in the minutes, so if it stayed in the minutes as it should be allocated such, I don't see asking to be spent under RFP is
Gotcha.
appropriate.
Any more discussion? Roll on the bills.
Bartholomew? Pay the bills?
Yes, here.
Edwards?
Yes.
Fowler? Absent. Hart?
Yes.
Melzon?
Yes.
Poznansky?
Yes, because work was done.
President Sigler?
Yes. Reports and communications.
I'll give a brief update on what's going to be coming to our next meeting because we've got quite a few different items that are going to be hitting there. Me and Mark have been working on the Great Lakes Water Authority agreement. The agreement needs to be approved for next month's meeting for it to be done by Kevin, Great Lakes Water Authority's hand by January 8th. The only changes will be to max peak and max flow. That's those two numbers that we always want to worry about. making sure that people are filling up trucks if they were during non-peak hours, so it doesn't count against us for the peak time. So we'll have that together. If we decrease those a little bit, which it looks like we can, it'll save us some money. So, and then we'll be ahead of the schedule with Great Lakes Water Authority raising rates on us every couple months, so. There will also be 2 IFTs for public hearings. It's the industrial facilities tax exemption. This is more along the lines of tax abatement. As you know, the IFTs that we did back in the past were for personal property. Now that they've eliminated any personal property tax for anything newer, or the older than 7 years, I think now is the years that we can't tax. You'll see more of the abatements for new construction. So that'll be on there, and I'll make sure I have all the documentation for you on how much.
What's going on?
The buildings over off of Kemp and Perrick, or Perrick Drive. We've got 3 large developments going on there. So, yeah. HRC will be here for the SAW grant project update. We'll be working with them. Al and Tim and myself will be working with them in regards to the projects for that SAW. Another reminder is Christmas parade and tree lighting is scheduled for December 1st at 7 p.m.
What am I supposed to say if you tell that? Are you leaving nothing to say?
Ignore what I've just said. And always, like every week, please remember to clean up after your pets on your walk. Thank you.
Well, I'd just like to congratulate the re-elect and new trustees for making the board.
Thank you.
Looking forward to working with everybody again. What else was there? There was something else. Most importantly, I really want to congratulate the young men of the Romeo football team for making it back to the semifinals. What an accomplishment after winning the championship. And,
And girls cross country were team of the year.
excellent.
Really?
That's awesome. I did talk to Mr. Lucido on a few subjects, and also Armada Township discussing some of the sewer connections. That's it for me. Time for public forum. If anybody would like to speak, now's the time. Please limit to 5 minutes, and please be courteous to others. Humor me, Zach. Can I get approval? Can I get a motion to approve the agenda with any additions or deletions, or as is?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda, but I would like to add election of a president pro tem to new business.
3.
Yes.
I'd like to go ahead and add the sewer under old business.
And the pension and OPEB is old business.
All is one, or?
Pension OPEB will be one together. And then I will add the fence variance for 2 to new business 4. Fence variance for 240 North Walls.
And if I could add in there clarification of our $2,000 for our consulting.
5 to new, or 5 to new or 5 to old? 5 to old.
And what is this in there? What is it?
Old business. That's,
I didn't
Our
quite hear what you said, I'm
To
sorry.
specify the $2,000 for our consulting, for the $2,000.
I'll support Matt's motion.
With the additions?
do you want me to just reread what we're adding? So,
Sure.
new business, we're adding the president pro tem, which you already do, so that's good. 4, fence variance for 240 North Main, or North Walls. Old business. What was it?
or maybe it's the sewer was number 3?
Sewer,
Sewer was, yeah, sewer 3.
And
Sorry.
pension OPEB
Yeah,
4.
4. Yeah. Pension, and then 5, the $2,000 consulting fee specification.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Oh.
New business. DDA appointment reduction discussion. I wanted to add this on there. Zach and I have been discussing, we have some people coming off, Megan being one. 2, Ron, I think he sold his store, or it's in the process of being sold. And Debbie is retiring, so both of those would be store owners that would be empty seats. And Zach and I have both discussed that it's much easier to work with a smaller board.
Do you need to reduce it by 3?
And Lisa is currently sitting in
This, and Lisa is currently sitting in as,
we need to go to the old number.
director.
Right, we should
Yes.
go back to what our old number was.
yes.
Because
Is
Ron
it-
still lives in the DDA district. He has the place, I don't know if you need a resident. Well, he's a resident, that would
I
qualify.
don't think he's right.
Potentially qualified, but.
He is
it-
currently, but he's currently living in the building he's selling it.
No, he lives on Main Street.
No, not anymore.
Not
Or he
anymore.
doesn't,
He
okay.
lived in the building, so he would be
He'd be gone
disqualified
completely.
from a position.
So he'll be
for
moving out anyway, but we need
Exactly.
3 positions.
Possibly even 4 with Lisa.
If Lisa gets awarded the contract, or the actual
The
position. Right
director.
now,
The
she, yeah,
director
right now she's
position.
filling in temporary.
But it used to be a 9-member board, including the president. It was 8 members, and that's what you should probably go back to. That worked pretty well.
I agree.
Hmm?
That would be.
Didn't we
my-
discuss
And that's a
Discussing-
reduction of 3, right?
Correct, right.
So if we lose 4, we probably want to appoint 1 at one point.
Which would be fine, because I mean, the people who we would potentially be losing were also very involved members, and, you know, it helped to make some extra headway, having the people who are willing to put in some extra time. So, you know, if there's somebody who really is, who wants to be involved and fill one of those positions, we'd definitely be open to that as well. So, but yeah, like you said, Bob, 3 is probably a good number to take it down by, go back to where it was before.
Did you look at the ordinance? I think we just made it to where we increased it,
I
but it
was
didn't
gonna ask
have
you.
to set the number, right?
I think we
Is that a
did,
resolution
we did
or-
ordinance.
No, you need to amend the ordinance. You amended it to increase the numbers. You would need to amend it to reduce the numbers.
And it was, because it wasn't number specific, if I remember though.
I
It
believe,
said,
I think it was maximum of 13.
yeah, there was a cap, but
If I
it was, there
remember
wasn't.
But less than, could we just make
Yeah.
it 8 without, and the president without changing the ordinance?
8
I would-
plus the president?
We'd have to amend the ordinance again.
I would
correct?
amend the ordinance. My recommendation is that you amend the ordinance because, again, to increase the number, it was amended to do that. So I would amend the ordinance. You can go back to what it was, the 8 plus 1, the 8 members plus the president, who is a member.
So my next question is, should we wait to make that amendment until they're actually
So it's
moved
7
out
members, right?
of the village, or should we
Including the president.
do it right now?
Well, if you amend the
7 including
if you amend the
Should be
ordinance,
7 members, including the president.
it was
8.
8, including the
And then-
president.
So it's an odd number.
Well, that's an even number.
No, but wasn't it 9? I think it was 9.
It was.
8 members and a president makes 9.
Oh, okay.
Right. If you amend the ordinance now, you can't unseat people who are seated.
Right.
So you can amend it now, or you can wait until people resign, because if they're not eligible for membership on the board, they should resign. You can do it either way. I think it would be
You want
prudent
to say it
to,
all the way?
Okay, I'll make a motion to amend the ordinance to go back to the original number of 8 board members. It still would be the same 5 businesses, I think,
Do you
and
want-
4 residents.
Yeah,
So-
do you want to have him draw up the amendment to the ordinance for the approval?
I would approve it
8
to go
plus
back to it.
president?
We know exactly what we had a year ago, so I would go back to the
The original
original amendment, ordinance that we had a year ago, which is, I think the board makeup is 8 plus the president, and I think it's 5 business owners.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Number 2, the Romeo Lions Club, 189 South Bailey House demolition. The Lions Club, I believe, asked Mike Lee to speak on their behalf, but not as a representative. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's pretty much, they're in meetings right now. They do have, their meetings start at 7. In the last HDC meeting, I didn't attend, but the vote went 3 against the demolition and 1 for the demolition. Skip Torner wasn't at that meeting, just for the record, but it wasn't any fault of his. But they did everything that they were asked to do, Romeo Lions, that is. What I did include the inspection report that you have in front of you, and detailed information on what it's gonna cost the Romeo Lions to bring it back up to code. The biggest and scariest part that everybody always talks about is page 19, I believe, in regards to mold and conditions, interiors of the premises. It is very comparable, but I did not go onto the Church Street property, but Bob and Christine visited the Church Street properties. That was one big reason why putting a roof on there wasn't gonna change any of their ways of fixing that. As you can see, just with the mold remediation, cost for that would probably be roughly $40,000 to $50,000 in regards to the recommendation there. As you guys probably had time to be able to review that, if you go back to page 32, the first line item is the home is in need of extensive reconstruction. To bring this home to current livable standards would cost in excess of $200,000. In my own opinion, it's not worth the house, technically. But it is just
As
only,
true as all this is that you're saying, this is basically demolition by neglect.
Thank you.
That's all this is. And unfortunately, they've let it go so far, they've never replaced the roof, that's why there's mold in it. This is demolition by neglect.
okay. Same,
Because-
along the same lines as Methodist Church.
Yep, exactly.
Because the Methodist Church, back when they first obtained the property, the house was viable enough that it was actually gonna be moved. They were gonna break it into 2 sections and move it. When they got down, so I mean, the house was a good house. And then it turned out that it had to be done in 3 sections, and that made the people that were gonna move it, it made it not cost effective for them, so they backed out of that deal. But so that was the condition of the house, and the church was actually using it for meetings. About 8 years later, we went in that place and I knew it would never be
Well,
inhabited
they never
again.
did a single
There
repair.
it was raining and water was just pouring inside, you know, so. And that's the case that's happened here, and what I'm worried about is like next to Hans Financial, there's a house that Hans doesn't want. It's a perfectly good building, it's one of the only of that architecture.
Could be neglected.
Hans doesn't have a use for it, they'd like to make 6 parking spaces, but that's the reason it's like a hard way to go on this, because if you make it easy and you do this, then other people are gonna do it and do it and do it.
And the Hans can be, I mean, they just painted one side of that building.
Oh, no, the Hans
It looks so nice, but they did it for,
A commercial, they were,
right, for
they're,
commercial.
they're testing a new product.
So I find that sort of,
I was hoping they'd go through the whole.
It almost
and
looks worse
test the whole
now
product.
that one part is done.
or hopeful if you're looking at it going, maybe they're finally gonna do something about it, but.
And the good thing about that house is it has T-lock shingles on it, which are very durable. They used them in the country a lot for high winds, etc. So it's not going to leak.
It's the Hans house.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
We're talking
Isn't that one of a
this.
kind at this point?
Yeah.
Yes.
That porch,
One of its
the
own-
windows.
Right, structures.
Okay,
I'm
It's
just,
full of water, but anyways.
I'm just
Right.
giving you guys information.
Right.
I know the Lions bought it in that state in 2012.
Knowing exactly what they were going to do.
If I
Just
don't-
like
I
they
don't-
bought the other 2 houses.
I don't-
To the south of there.
Yeah, I don't
knowing
know that.
exactly the same.
So I'm just
In
giving you
2000, I don't know if you ever
What
looked at it.
concerns
though,
me
but
is it's
in
okay for the-
2012, The house, I had been in it when it was for sale. It was for sale for like under $30,000.
33 they bought
Yeah,
it for.
yeah, and it could have been like a rental property. It was not like it looks now. It was not like that.
Well, we've set a precedent. Can we go against a precedent that you've already set?
Well, we already did, that's because we have the 2 Bailey Street houses that were torn down, demolition by neglect from the Methodist Church.
Yes, I'm saying, we set the
I'm just worried.
precedent that this is okay.
I, at that
Kinda hard to
time,
go
urged the
back on.
HDC to look at their regulations to see what they can do to work with ordinances or some other violation, a fee if we needed to, you know, something
There
to
need to be
encourage our residents.
inspections.
There is an ordinance on the books and
Where
it's
is our
down,
village inspector?
right.
Every
Every
Obviously,
6
never
months, they
showed up
should
at
be
this
able to look
place.
into these houses, but.
There is an ordinance on our books that says if you have a vacant structure and it's vacant for more than 6 months, you do not have a tenant, we can actually write a citation from the village side. But that's never been enforced. So, you know, I think at this point, my opinion is that it's unfortunate. It's very unfortunate. I hate to see another structure torn down, but they're not gonna put $200,000 into bringing it back. I wanna make sure that the neighborhood is safe for all the residents around there. It's not fair to them to have to live next to this blight.
No,
So,
and it's unsafe for the children.
it's
should anyone go inside.
encouraging, I know that, I had a conversation with Skip about this too. For what it's worth, he said he would have voted, yes to have it torn down. The motion still would have failed because there were 3 that voted no to not do it. But him being the chair, they did everything that the HDC asked them to do to present the evidence that it is not salvageable, just like the Congregational Church did.
Methodist.
The Methodist Church, excuse me, I always get that wrong.
Yes, right across the street from each other.
Absolutely, but there's 2 new members that I think Skip is gonna be bringing forward to TAD, to hopefully to appoint to the HDC for the vacancies that are there. And hopefully we can work with them to help them figure out a solution so that this doesn't happen anymore.
Because we as
So-
we as a board cannot make somebody take care of their home.
You can write them an
Yes,
ordinance
Where
violation, you
village
can,
inspector is,
To this extent, can we?
no.
And I think that if the Lions wanted to, if they
Not
just
totally
went and
sure.
tore it down, I think what happens is they can't build on it for 5 years, I think, which
They
they
don't
don't
wanna,
want
they
to
don't,
do.
they don't,
Well, no, I
they
know.
don't wanna,
So
they
they
wanna do
could
it
have
the
just
right
gone
way.
and torn it down
Yes, they
and said
could
they
have.
were
They're trying to do
sorry,
the right
but they didn't
channels.
want to do that.
Yeah, and they're, I mean, we don't wanna get into a circuit court issue or anything like that,
Right.
because we set a precedence within the village. It's not taxed, we're not gonna lose money on it in regards to monetary, we might lose something later, I mean,
But that's not, the tax isn't the point, it's the losing the structures.
yes.
I make a
There's only a
motion.
couple that really gotta go. There's only a couple left, but.
Right, that's good.
There's one on
That's a good-
Croswell Street that's
Well,
ready to
there's
fall
one next to
over.
Hans that I'd hate to see go.
There's one on Croswell Street
That
that's
one
ready to
for
fall
sure.
over.
The one next to Hans, you're right. Just
The one at
keep going.
Croswell's
But you're right,
historic,
Ted, there's
though.
not many of them.
That's a-
That's a
The
good
one
one.
on
But there'll be
Croswell is
more.
a historic home.
I'm not sure if it's conforming or not, cause
We allow them just to be destroyed by neglect.
Right, so we need to really work with our HDC again to try and figure out a solution, again, an ordinance, something.
you wanna make a motion, I'm just gonna interrupt you.
Make a motion to allow the Lions to
demo.
demolish the home.
I'll second.
And I'm gonna abstain.
Hello.
Do a, roll call then. Bob.
It's technically 179, 189 Bailey Street, so I'm gonna put that in there. South Bailey Street. Bartholomew,
Yes.
Edwards,
Yes.
Hart,
Abstain,
abstain.
and that's,
Elza?
that's a lion.
Yes,
Haas,
Yes.
President Seela,
Yes.
motion passes.
When does the HDC meet?
The second and fourth Thursday of every month.
Where at?
Actually,
So
the other end of the
the
other
room-
end, other end of the building.
Number 3, pro temp, Matt added, I would like to, appoint Zach Fowler for many reasons. 1, a lifelong member. 2,
lifelong member of what?
lifelong resident of the village of Romeo. He sat on the planning commission for, I believe, this is the 6th year. This is the second, not consecutive term, but second term, sitting on this board of trustees. I think he would have the village of Romeo at best interest. If anybody has any reason why not, why he wouldn't be, then
Well, I guess since I brought it up, I wanted to nominate Christine Malzahn. So whichever way you want to handle the voting, I guess, we can do that.
So you have a motion.
We have a motion. Do you have a second on Tad's motion?
We just get to nominate people?
There's a motion on the floor. It needs a second.
Yeah. So the motion is President Sigel would like to appoint Trustee Fowler as President Pro Tem.
I'll second that. And then uses a second motion?
No, no, we're
No,
gonna
we'll
vote on
vote.
now
it.
we're
We'll vote on
discussing,
that.
now we have, we're supposed to have a discussion now.
Okay.
Any discussion? Then we vote.
Roll.
Alright. Bartholomew?
No.
Edwards?
No.
Fowler? Absent, sorry. Hart?
No.
Malzahn?
No,
Poznansky?
Yes.
President Sigel?
Yes.
Two. Second motion, sorry.
I guess I'd like to make a motion then to nominate Christine Malzahn for
Second.
President Pro Tem.
That sounds premeditated, huh?
Alright.
Can I wait till that one's done?
Motion.
Any discussion?
As far as discussion, I think Christine has now serving her second term. I didn't want the position, and I did talk to Matt and said, Matt, you know, he's got the tenure, would he be interested in doing that, because we need to have that, but he's not. So Christine was the chair of the board, DDA, did a great job with the board, done an outstanding job for 4 years and just got elected for another term, so I think she's very qualified.
I'd like to say that Christine was part of the DDA board that actually sued the village. And to me,
And I applaud that.
as suing your own entity is not a good decision, and
We can
therefore
talk
would
about
not
that
make a good
sometime.
leader.
It was a good idea.
I'm stating.
Well, before the lawsuit, the DDA had a $400,000 fund balance and a full-time director, and now they have $60,000 fund balance and no director.
And you were part of that DDA board too, that we had to then take the fallout for, and now have no money. So I don't see how that can be a good leader.
Okay.
Bartholomew?
Yes.
Edwards?
Yes.
Hart?
Yes.
Malzahn?
yes,
Poznansky?
No.
President Sigel?
No.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
I'll never miss.
good, that'll make my job much easier.
Never say never.
One more, new business. Wasn't there one more?
There's been a
Yeah.
Variation.
Can anybody explain what this drawing is?
Okay, so if you're looking at it like a normal piece of paper, the park is to the north, or to the top on Newberry.
It's just not on the paper.
No,
Right.
okay, so this
Where
is-
the word driveway is on the,
yeah, Newberry's here.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay,
Okay.
so park is up in here. What they're asking for is because it is a corner lot, and we had this conversation, we brought it to the council the last time, is not putting a privacy fence on the front side setbacks. It has to be on the back side setbacks, would be the north and the east side, which the east side already has a privacy fence. What it is, a variance of 22 feet fence, a privacy fence to seclude her backyard that opens directly up to the village park, and all the post office area. So, I brought it to you guys because I can't approve it. We approved the one on Prospect and Prospect and Hollister. That was 176 feet. to offer them seclusion to the pool and all that type of stuff. I can't approve it, our building inspector can't approve it, I have to bring it to you guys.
Do you have a recommendation on this? I can't even
Yeah,
envision
well,
this.
you guys, yeah, I mean, it's 22 feet of privacy fence.
You don't have a problem with it, right?
I don't have a problem, the only problem that I would have is if you guys, if I allowed them to do it and you guys yell at me for it.
Actually, I talked to the lady that bought the house, she's been doing a lot of work to it. What was there before was an additional parking area, it was asphalted. She had that ripped out, she's putting dirt in and sod, and I'm okay with it because there's so much activity that goes on in the park, and the male people are back there making noise and everything. For her to just go around a little bit further with a fence to give her some privacy to an area she's improving, I'm okay with that, so.
Okay, so this is Buddy's, that's that brick ranch
Yeah. Should
be
that's
next
sitting
to the
over there, and she
post.
wants to put the fence, okay, it's the brick ranch, and she wants to put the
Brick
fence
ranch. Okay.
on the way from the back of the house towards the,
Fence.
okay.
But not all the way to
I
the
got it
corner.
now. I was just having a hard time visualizing. I'm okay with that. I mean, it's just, it's a 6-foot fence,
Need a
or
motion or?
Yeah, we'll just have.
is it a 4-foot or a 6-foot?
It's a 6-foot.
6-foot.
It's a motion to approve the fence variance.
I'll make a
at
motion to approve the
I'll
fence.
240
Second.
Siglo and Hart.
That's all right.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Old business, RFP for legal services.
No matter who starts the discussion on this. I had a chance to review all these.
Which one are you on? I forgot. Mark it first, legal.
Legal, yes, yes.
Okay, can I explain the breakdown
Sure.
first really quick for you guys? So, the stapling machine wouldn't go through 2 sections, so what I did was I stapled
We figured that.
2 sections. The first page and the second page is the second page. Second grouping is the second page. So, as you can see, with this, we did bid out for all 3 separate services. Labor, general, and prosecution. I do have them colored coded for you guys. Green is in general, prosecution in blue, and labor in orange. In the yellow marks, it'll show what they have actually bid on. So labor is, some people just wanted to do labor, some wanted to do general and labor, and then all, which would be general, labor, and prosecution. So that's where we're at right now.
Did you do that in Excel?
I do got skills, yeah. Sometimes.
Did make it easy, Mike, nice job.
No, that's very good.
A little colorful. As you can see, 8 people did bid for the random amount of services that we asked for. As you can look, price variances are all over the board. Labor, how do you guys want to go about it? You want to just go through general? Do you want to? Are we looking to keep stuff status quo? What do you guys want to do?
This is my concern. I'm all in favor of retaining Mr. Clark as our general counsel, but I would like to have a better understanding of what we actually spend for prosecution. I know that you submit a bill for your second day of prosecution, but one day, and that's in your proposal as well, is included in your retainer fee. So I'd like to find out if it's possible to subtract that out of the retainer fee so that we have a better idea of what it actually cost us for prosecution, and then a benchmark of what we actually capture from whatever judgments were awarded, so that we can sort of gauge better where we're sitting from that. So I don't know if that's something that you'd be willing to take a look at. Just for instance, I went through just this month and then the previous 3 months. For the second day of prosecution, you were invoicing us approximately average $1,280 a month is what that second day was. So I didn't really know if your time in court is split equally between the 2 days, or one day is, I don't know how you make up your billing, so I'm looking for some leeway in the general.
I can answer most of that.
Okay.
Let me go from your last point and then go forward. How much the village receives is based on the fines and costs that the court imposes, and that's by statute. I don't know what that number is. Chief Paduk may know.
We probably got it right here on our.
It's about, and I don't mean to be loose with the public's money, but it's about $40,000 to $50,000 a year that the village gets back in penal fines. And that money is shared, not that fund of money, but the larger fund of money. Some of it goes to libraries, some of it goes to the judge's retirement fund. But there is a specific allocation that the village receives for the ordinance prosecutions. Again, I don't know exactly what that number is, but it's about $40,000 to $50,000.
Should actually be closer to 60, Mark.
Okay, and so as far as what the village gets back, that's determined by statute. It has nothing to do with any of my billings. It has to do with the arrests the department makes and the prosecutions that I undertake. With respect to the amount of money billed, the second day is billed at $125 an hour. It's not uniform, it's pretty close. I'm usually out there 4.5 hours a time. First and third Thursday. First Thursday is included in the retainer, the first day actually, it doesn't have to be Thursday. You'll notice in October and November, I only had one ordinance day in each of those months, one ordinance prosecution day. So there was no hourly billed for October and November. Both of those days were included entirely in the retainer. That which is not included in the retainer, the police department prepares their incident reports. They submit those to me, I review them. If I feel there's probable cause to believe a crime was committed, I submit an authorization to the court asking that a warrant be issued. That varies from month to month, quarter to quarter, year to year. I keep track of that, and that information's available. Mr. Lee gets it in my monthly statement, so that is a determinable number. I just, off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you what it is. And so if you're gonna look at that larger picture, by way of example, if you look at the retainer and the number of hours included in the retainer, the assumption is for $1,250 a month, which is what the village pays me, $15,000 a year, is that the village will get approximately 10 hours. The idea behind a retainer is that it be fair and reasonable to both sides, that neither side ends up with a great advantage. This last month, I think my hours allotted to the retainer were over 22 hours. And historically, if you go back, and again, the numbers, you get them in your package every month. I think the year 14 to 15, 2014, 2015, if you apply the retainer and take the hourly rate, the village was paying me about $90 an hour on average. 2014 to 15 to 16, I think it was about $88 an hour. So all those numbers are available. I would just respectfully request that you compare apples to apples and oranges to oranges, because it's not all the same. I'm not doing the same thing. But the numbers are all determinable. There's nothing that I do that is not, for which I do not account.
That's why it was confusing to me when I was actually comparing the estimates, because you were the only one that had that inclusion, but you're saying that you don't always do a second day at court, so
Right, that's the court schedule, and it often happens that probably 10 months out of the year, there is only one ordinance prosecution in 2 of the months. But it could be, I could have 2 days, 12 months out of the year. It could be 9 months. It's wholly dependent on the court schedule. I have nothing to do with the scheduling of the cases or the number of ordinance prosecution days that I have. That's solely up to the court.
But what I'm hearing maybe is the retainer that you have is based on 3 to 4 hours of prosecution time.
Yes, I would stretch a little bit and say 3 to 4.5, but yes.
3 to 4 hours.
Yes, yes.
Mike, a question, of the 8 law firms, I noticed 4 of them have no proposals. There's 3 categories, and they have no proposals for a couple of them, and one. And if I may say on behalf of Megan, I mean, we just got these packets this morning because we weren't sworn in until this morning, so we had a lot of reading to do today. But
You
is
didn't-
it
You didn't get the,
the RP?
yes,
Right.
you got everything else.
Okay. But as far as, is it possible, hypothetically speaking, to use, like, say, Mr. Clark's services for general, and then prosecution and labor from another law firm?
Yeah, I would say yes.
Okay, I was just curious.
Yes.
Through the RFP, we have the
I thought
latitude
that's
to
why it
do
was set
that,
up
to
that
do.
this way.
And that's why some didn't even bid for that.
I gotcha.
There
Okay.
are 3 components. We don't even need, we just completed our labor. So labor, unless something is opened back up, is not gonna be 3 to 5 years.
Thanks.
So it's really
So it'll take
prosecution
us
and
to-
general counsel that are the ones we need right as of now. So
So
it's because I think some of those had labor retainers that would be paying right now, even if we, and we aren't even
no
using it,
reason.
it's not
Right,
even
right.
applicable. So,
Okay.
you know, that kind of or kind of kicked that one out.
So, Mr. Clark, I would ask, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, and if you need to take time, can we look at that retainer, the 15,000 that you have submitted, and put that in a different category, whatever you're adjusting for your prosecution?
You get
So the
every,
retainer does not reflect the one day.
every month you get a breakout of the time I devote to the retainer. That's in your package.
Right.
Right here.
But I think what you're asking, if you did a retainer that did not include prosecution, would you, it's $12.50 a month is what your retainer is, that's the 15,000. Paid monthly is $12.50, and 4 hours would be $500, 3 hours would be $375. Would it be fair to back off $375 to $500 off the $12.50 to get to a retainer that would be being just general counsel?
Well, you could do that, but I think that's inaccurate, because again, there are many months when I have devoted far more hours to the retainer. So I don't think it presents an accurate and fair picture to back out the ordinance prosecutions out of the retainer and not allow for the number of hours I expend over that. It rains on both sides of the scrimmage line. So if you're gonna do that, if you're gonna back out a number, then I think you have to take
But
cognizance.
if you took away a day of prosecution out of the retainer, could you do that and reduce your retainer from $12.50 if you weren't responsible for
Well, let me
prosecution?
ask you this, are we negotiating now, or am I answering questions?
Well, the pricing, I think from what Christine is saying, the pricing had a retainer that covered 2 of the categories. And if we were looking at segmenting out a category, the retainer is the question. Now, you could say your retainer would still be $12.50 and nothing would be removed for prosecution. But it includes, it goes over the scope of both.
But my question is, am I answering a question, or are we negotiating? Because I mean, I don't mind answering the question, but I don't, if I'm negotiating, then
Well, you're not
I'll still
negotiating
answer
with
the.
me.
Well,
I
I mean, somebody's gonna
I'm
do.
just asking a question.
Somebody's gonna do something here.
Right.
And I would say, I did provide an alternate proposal that I'll do everything for $100 an hour.
Yeah, but I'm not comfortable personally with that.
Well,
Because then there's no control over how, because the other thing, and I guess what I have kind of concern is, just overall for our costs for legal, I keep on going back to what I had found 4 years ago. Richmond, their current budget for legal, they spent $29,000 total last year for the city of Richmond, and they budget this year is $22,000, and most of that is paid to you for prosecution. The city of Richmond is able to operate on almost half of what we spend legally. You know, and I know I don't know if they have any counsel that's at the meetings, maybe they don't. I know Bruce doesn't have counsel at the meetings. I know Washington Township does, but I just think we're spending a lot of, just in our legal budget, because I see what Richmond's doing.
So you've looked at Richmond numbers, but you've never actually spoken to them as to how it's possible.
Gosh, I have a hard time, hearing.
You've read it on, you've seen that that's what they spend for their legal, but you really don't know how that, but you haven't spoken to them as to how it's possible that they do that for that price?
Yeah, I have, just like the budget, the whole budget, like this is online with Richmond, and it goes through their legal for all the departments. And for the year, the city of Richmond budgets and spends, they spent $29,000 last year, and their budget this year is $22,000. And they have a police force like we do, so they do have prosecution, which is, my understanding is about the same caseload as Romeo. So this is a little bit irrelevant of this, but this is why my concern is, just overall, we're paying a lot for legal to run the village in comparison to Richmond. And
Well, comparison to Richmond, but compared to all the 7 other people that bid
Bid
out,
on this.
Mr. Clark blows
We
them out of the
consider
water,
Lowest.
I mean,
I-
in every area.
And if
There
you
might
look
be
at it,
$15 here and there.
the closest person that bid was Troy, other than Mr. Clark, and if you start the clock when you get in the car, you're eating up that additional money as it is right then and there.
yeah.
So, I mean,
But the
It's-
thing, like for prosecution, it's $110, but the thing that I was finding, and again, I didn't see it all in these bidders, but I know from looking at other ones, besides having the main counsel or attorneys, they have other people that can do some of the work, and they had an asterisk in there that a legal clerk can do, with the supervision of an attorney, can do the work. So some of the case preparation, like when you're looking at some of the cases, I believe that would mean a legal clerk would be able to look at those at a $50 an hour rate. And then the attorney would be the
I
one
see
that
where you're
actually
coming
goes
from then.
before the judge and does that. So I'm just thinking, I'm with you as far as still retaining Mr. Clark for general counsel and not upsetting that. The labor isn't anything, but I'd be looking at maybe doing another option for prosecution. I think there's a conflict of interest, but I know Bruce and Washington, Bob is their attorney, and they have another attorney. They were at $80 an hour for prosecution, and they have a gal that goes over to the same court, and she
They
was
didn't bid on
$80 an
this,
hour.
though.
Pardon? No, I understand that. I'm just saying. So,
Of course.
The whole discussion here seems to be about money. There should be more than just about money. This is about a comfort level that our police department's had for years with the firm of McLean, Jack and Clark, and the loyalty that they've shown to my department. All I have to do is pick up the phone at any time, either a cell phone or Mark's work phone or Red's phone, and if I need to meet with them within 5-10 minutes, we do that. And vice versa. They call me if they need to speak with me. There's probably 3 or 4 times a year where I have situations where I need to meet face to face with them, and I'm literally 70 yards from their office from my back door. So that's convenience, it's loyalty, it's trust, and it's comfort. Since it's Thanksgiving week, I'm gonna compare our relationship to turkey and stuffing. Now, I don't know if he's the turkey or if I'm the turkey, or vice versa, but it's a good relationship, it's worked, it's always worked. We did a thing about 3-4 years ago with our formal hearings where Mr. Clark represents the village. That has saved the village probably $4,000 to $5,000 a year in overtime by officers not having to appear at those formal hearings because Mr. Clark takes care of that for us. Okay, the phone calls, the meetings, he is going up and beyond. He's not charging you extra when he has to meet with me or meet with a member of my department. Now, you decide to go with the firm from Oakland County. Am I supposed to drive my reports all the way to Oakland County, or is my officer gonna have to now leave the road and drive to Oakland County to drop off our police reports? Are we then gonna have to go back 2-3 days later and pick up those reports? If I need to meet face to face with an attorney, am I gonna have to drive 20 to 40 miles to meet face to face with them? So this should be more about money, because in the end, if you go with another firm, it's gonna end up costing you.
well, I think it does come, as far as what's cost effective, and I'd hate to see on the upside those kind of changes.
But you are cost effective.
Pardon?
You are very cost effective, because if you really look at the deal that you actually do get with McLean, Jack Clark for all the services they provide, compared to what Richmond's paying, you are getting more bang for your
Well,
buck.
just the,
Their caseload is bigger than ours.
pardon?
Their caseload is bigger than the Village of Romeo's caseload.
Yeah, okay, and they're cheaper. Their cost for prosecution is less than ours. It's like, I don't know, prosecution, I have it here, it's less, because it's $100 an hour, but it is, they pay less.
Okay, but he's not providing all the other services for
Well,
Richmond that he does.
okay,
So if you just take prosecution aside, for all
And they
the
have a
other
bigger
things you're getting
caseload.
out of Mr. Clark, as far as contracts and lawsuits and all the other things that he provides for the village, I think you're getting a great deal.
Right, 17,000.
If my memory recalls correctly,
Okay.
Bob, $125 last year, okay, you're the one that said, bring it down to 100. If I'm not mistaken, now you're saying 100?
No, he
I
isn't,
don't
he
know.
isn't
No,
saying
I-
100.
if you, if
Okay,
you, if
Chief,
you
that's-
appoint me to do all three,
No,
I'll do it
this is
for
getting out of
100.
hand a little bit.
It's
Let
beside
me,
the point.
as far as the question for Richmond, which you're saying has a bigger caseload, they have a budget of 17,000 total for their police. They paid 23,670 last year, but they have a $17,000 budget.
I
So
believe
that's,
he's only been doing
It's really all
Richmond for
We have,
12,
we have
13 years, he's been doing Village Romeo for 30?
we have an RFP that went out
I'd like to make a
in
motion.
these 7.
Yes, I'm gonna make
Return
it,
the-
right.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the bid from McLean, Myjack and Clark, which is the second lowest bid that we have here.
I'll second.
For,
For
are
all
you
three
doing
services.
all
All
three,
three services.
all three,
For a 5-year contract.
Yes.
a 5-year
for a
contract.
5-year contract?
That's what this says. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's the way I read it.
That's why we,
That's why we
Set
put
out
the
for 5
RFP for 5 years.
I
Well,
wouldn't.
that's what this board
for-
wanted.
I wouldn't, you don't
No,
have to go 5
We
years.
don't have to go 5, for starters.
Motion's for 5.
We were going to
You're
bid
doing
them,
a
but
5-year
that's his
motion.
motion.
That's what everybody bid.
Well, I don't think you have to go 5, they gave you pricing out to 5.
We can
But
go-
it's your motion, Matt,
My motion's for 5.
for 5 years.
all three, 5 years. Ready?
Yeah.
Roll.
Who
Bartholomew?
who supported?
I,
Okay,
Yeah. It was Edwards, supported by Sigel.
thank you.
Mark?
No.
Edwards?
Yes.
Fowler, absent. Hart?
No.
Malzahn?
Nope,
Poznanski?
Yes.
President Sigel?
yes.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
I failed.
Yep.
I'm gonna make a motion to approve Mr. Clark to retain as our general legal counsel for a 1-year term.
So why did we go through this whole RFP process?
Well, we went through the RFP process as a,
For the 5-year contract.
And you're just doing,
I'm just asking a question. We did this.
no, what we
for a
said was
reason.
that our ordinance, we were going to, by law, by ordinance, we were going to we were gonna bid out our contracted services every 3 to 5 years. It didn't mean that we were obligated to extend a contract for that period of time. We have the latitude to do up to 5 years. My motion is for a 1-year term for general prosecution at the $15,000.
so you're doing the prosecution?
For just the general, that's
For
all,
general,
that's all my
no
motion contains
prosecution.
right now, cause I would like to keep them separate, so that we have a better understanding of what we're bidding for.
So you're doing just a 1 year
I'm
for
doing
general?
1 year for general.
And nothing for prosecution?
I haven't made that motion yet, but
Okay.
my motion right now is just for general.
And just 1 year? not
1 year.
3 years, yeah.
Mhm.
I'll second.
Well, 1 year for prosecution only,
No, she said general.
or general. Yes. Bart,
Yes.
Edwards,
No.
Hart,
Yes.
Malzahn,
Yes?
Poznanski,
No.
President Sigel.
No.
You failed to.
I'll make a motion to appoint or accept the proposal from Mr. Clark for a 3-year term and go for a 1-year term with Pluckett and Cooney for prosecution.
What about labor?
And I guess the retainer's still at issue. The retainer, I'm sorry, I don't know how to handle the looking at that.
Plunkett Clooney is out of Bloomfield Hills.
Well,
Is there a motion? I'll make the motion.
yeah.
Mhm.
We don't, the actual attorney that's gonna work here is not out of there, that's where their base office is, that's out where they're traveling from, I'm sure.
How do you know that?
True.
I said, how do you know that?
I don't know that.
Oh,
Weren't
so
they the
you're
one out of
assuming.
actually Lansing?
No, I don't think they're on
No,
Lansing.
no, no. Just ready to do it.
Yeah, I got the full RPs here, this
Yeah.
50-pound bag of stuff, so if you guys want me to search for something, let me know.
Well, I've got it here.
Okay, so your motion was for 3 year for general and 1 year for prosecution?
Because I'd like to try something different for
Plunkett and Cooney?
prosecution and see how it works for a year, and if it's a problem,
The one thing that.
Would you like to add something, Mr. Petrino?
Yeah, I have just wanted something, and maybe Mr. Clark can enlighten me too. Your bid is for pricing for 5 years with an annual appointment. And I want to make sure that you're not running into conflict with whatever language you guys have for an annual appointment that you have to follow. And so you can lock in pricing for that with an annual appointment, but I'll leave it to Mr. Clark to kind of render that. Your RFP was for a 1-year term with an annual reappointment with pricing for 5. So I just want to bring that attention in case the village code in specific requires that annual consideration and appointment. Thank you.
Do you want me to respond to that, or?
I would ask that you'd respond to that.
Well, I've said this before, it's my position that the appointment of the village attorney is the president's appointment, subject to confirmation of the council. And that has not been met with much acceptance on the board, but I think that's what the law provides, is that it's a president's appointment, and the council either accepts the appointment or rejects it. And with respect to the length of time, I think that you can bind based on the pricing, as Mr. Vitrino mentioned, but the appointment is an annual appointment made by the president and either accepted or rejected by the board. So I don't agree with the posture of this. It's not been my advice with respect to the posture of it. But I don't vote on this board, I just give it advice, and the board's free to accept or reject my advice, or to take some of it and reject other aspects of it. I stand by what I've said repeatedly, it's a president's appointment, subject to the confirmation of the council. And I would ask, not on that point, but if we're going to get into other proposals, other bids, I would just simply ask for the professional courtesy of being able to respond or address them. I've been doing this for 30 years. My partner's here. He did it for 14, 15 years before me. Our retired partner did it before that. We've been doing this for the village for over 50 years. And if you're going to make a change, which is your prerogative, this is America, it's a democracy, I love our country, I love the democracy. If you're going to make a change, I would at least ask for the courtesy of being allowed to address the various items that seem to have gotten your attention.
Of course.
All right, so,
What's your motion?
well, let me.
Well, and the only thing I would just say, and not to sit there and with the legal, how the state looks is as officers. And what we looked at with municipalities and things, they're hiring firms, and I don't think the firm would be an officer. It was even to the point where you were gonna name our accountant as being an officer, because here you were doing an accounting firm as being an officer. And that's where we looked at what the appointments are. And, you know, that's.
Which remember, we did approve that for a 5-year contract.
I'm sorry?
Yes.
We did approve that for a 5-year contract.
Stuart
Stuart Van Wood.
Oh, I know.
Now, all right, so you wanted to make prosecution Plunkett Clooney for your prosecution,
For a 1-year term.
because you want to try it.
Well, I think
That's
there's
such a
some, I think
brilliant
there's some potential
word
savings there.
Now, listen,
Excuse me.
Let me finish my
Okay.
little train of thought here, all right? Their general prosecution rider was $30,000. Doesn't mean that they're gonna go and drive out to Romeo from Bloomfield Hills to do prosecution for 110. It looks like they're bidding on everything as a whole, from without $30,000, prosecution after that is 110, labor to 130. So, right off the bat, we don't know if that prosecution is gonna be that number, because they were looking to do all of the three, general, prosecution, and labor, with the retainer of $30,000. You're only saving 15 an hour, but you're also, who knows how much you're losing on drive
No,
bill.
and
The
if there's,
drive time's gonna be, eat up that.
there's a, I tell you what,
Quick.
Yeah, so I mean, there's not.
I'm gonna rescind my motion, it hasn't been seconded, I'm gonna make a motion that we put together a subcommittee to look at this, because I think this has been the holy grail of not touching anything with, you know, regards to Mr. Clark. I mean, for years, it was $100 at Richmond, they're paying much less over there, they have a bigger caseload. I think this needs to be looked at. I seriously do, and if you want to sit there and get the one would be out of the bids is this one for possibly for prosecution, and we can get the answers to that. So I'll make a motion that we put together a subcommittee that will look at the bids for the, and answer those questions. As far as if there's drive time, what's gonna happen, what a legal clerk can do. So I'll make a motion that we put together a subcommittee to review and make a decision, hopefully
Is there a
maybe get a
second?
recommendation for next month. Does anybody want to second that?
I'll support that.
Before you vote, may I, again, may I just have the courtesy of saying a few things about this? A couple of things. First of all, Bob, for whatever reason, you've been after me for the.
It's not after you, and it's
Well,
not
well,
personal.
well,
I tell you right now,
It
it is
is,
not
it
personal.
is.
It keeps on getting addressed to being personal. I have no problem with you, Mr. Clark. I just look at the numbers, and I look at the budgets, and it used to be $50,000 to $60,000 every year, and I see how Richmond's paying a lot less, and I'd like to be paying less. Nothing personal.
Well, it is personal because,
It's your personal income, but
Well,
other than that, it's not personal to me.
well, it is because.
It is not. You can't.
Okay, all right, then
How can
let
you tell
me
how I
just.
feel?
Mr. Clark, answer, you wanted to
That's
speak.
fine. Go ahead.
I believe it's personal because for the longest time, you would stand up and say, we want what Richmond wants. I'm offering you $100 an hour. You can have what Richmond wants. You can have that. You have checked up on me, which is fine. You've gone.
Checked up on you, meaning what?
You've gone out to the court and asked them how I do.
4 years ago.
All right.
4
well,
years
ma-
ago.
ma-
Can I finish?
Can I just complete my thought, please?
Yes.
So you've gone out to the court and checked up on me, and as best I know, you've got a favorable report or response from the people out at the court. You've gone a few years ago to the city of Richmond, talked to the manager, and asked him how I'm doing there.
That's not correct.
Well, I feel like I'm debating Donald Trump, and that's not my. I don't want to feel that way. But you've checked up on me in the city of Richmond, and so now you've paid Mr. Vitrano good money to put these RFPs together, which he's done. We've gotten responses. The village has 8 of them, including mine, and now we want to pound a square peg into a round hole because apparently you don't like how the responses have come out.
I think the responses are good.
Well, then I don't
But there's some
think
questions.
I don't think it's appropriate to massage the responses to get the result you want.
Massage
People
the
bid on- people bid
answering
on
the
it.
question on where that prosecutor would come from, knowing better what a legal clerk would do. They put an asterisk in there that it's $50 an hour for
What's-
that rate.
what's the
Those
ad-
are some questions.
What's the address on the law firms from where they submitted the bid?
Okay, where does the attorney live?
Well, it doesn't matter.
If they live in Bruce Township, it'd be awesome, because they'd be 20 minutes away from the court. Those are some questions I
That's not
have.
how he's gonna do it.
No.
With all due respect, if we can just refocus for a second. We sent out the RFPs because we wanted to make sure that we took into account any cost savings. That was the whole purpose, that if we're looking under these tight budget conditions, that we look at every option. And our contracted services seem like a perfectly logical place to start, with our auditor, with our engineering firm, with our legals. Those are big bills. Before we asked our employees to either take a pay cut or not hire somebody who's retiring or look at cutting other areas of their budgets, I wanted to make sure that we looked at our outside vendors. This is one of them. I still see that there's, according to these numbers, room for potential savings for the village. I have every intention, I'm not here to debate your qualifications, Mr. Clark. I'm not here, I was the first one to throw out a motion that I would like to retain your services as the village's attorney. So it is not personal. It really is not personal. I'm sorry if you.
But do you think these prices are gonna go down in a year? I would assume they would go up in a year, let alone 5 years. By contracting him for 5 years right now, you will save money. Because I can guarantee you, if we do this 1 year, 1 year, 1 year, all of those other prices are gonna continue to go up too.
And
So
it-
where is the money
It
savings?
meets our 5-year
The mon-
budget scenario that we've been
Shooting for,
shooting for.
that I asked for when I first got
keeping it-
elected.
And in general, it's the second overall lowest bid.
And why would we
And the
again
closest guy
contract
to
an
it is Southfield
RFP
or Blue.
to then waste it?
Technically, it's.
This is the second RFP. The first one you had Mr. Vitrino write up, and then you rescinded it. And now this is the second RFP that you've had Mr. Vitrino write up, that you're going to again go
Megan, I don't
against.
know what you're talking
We
about.
did not rescind it.
Oh, you didn't?
We awarded
You
the
passed it.
contract
Oh, and then the
to,
next meeting you rescinded it.
We said what, Megan?
The
There was
auditing
some-
firm.
that was some wording within, that's what was
Mr.
rescinded.
Vitrino's RFP was not correct. You didn't like the wording.
No, that was the actual contract.
No,
That was the ordinance change.
We're getting way
That
off
was the
track.
ordinance
That's,
change.
I mean,
It wasn't the RFP,
You're
it was the
correct.
ordinance change that she's referring to.
And with respect to the money, I just have, because I live in the village, my office is in the village, and ironically, it's in the DDA, the office is. My partner and I pay the tax on the DDA, is two things. One is, you talk about cost savings and the importance of the DDA. Both Ms. Malzahn and Mr. Hart were more than willing to pay $125 an hour to the lawyer that represented the DDA. That did not seem to be troublesome at all. And if the idea is to promote local businesses in the DDA, to be friendly, to send out the message to people that if you do business in the village, you're gonna prosper and you're gonna have a welcoming business environment, it just seems rather cruelly ironic that you would pick a lawyer from Bloomfield Hills or Detroit or Lansing or from wherever they come when you have one that's already in the DDA, already paying the tax, and has been doing this for over 30 years.
But we're
it's your
spending more
decision.
money. It's
To that I would say, Mr. Clark,
in
that's,
Richmond.
that's why Romeo Printing does not do
But look
any
at the
business
bids.
for the village police department or the
It's the second
village
most
hall
one.
anymore either, so. What comes around goes around, but it is perfectly
motion, Bob?
reasonable for us to look
think we
at
chose
these
that.
figures as a cost-saving measure without it becoming a personal attack.
Right, it
It's
isn't
perfectly
personal.
reasonable for us to look at
What is your-
cost-saving measures without it becoming a
Because
personal
we're spending
attack.
$50,000 to $60,000,
his
Richmond's
motion?
spending half of that.
We have a motion on the table, we're gonna vote on it.
And Richmond's a bigger city and has a bigger
seconded it?
caseload.
Well,
I support it.
Hart made the motion to make a committee, a subcommittee to review this.
And get the answers. We can, the other question is if Mr. Clark would change his retainer if he was doing just general, to
That
separate the
wasn't, that
two.
wasn't the.
Again,
No, that's what the subcommittee can look at, is what the question, get the answers to some
But
questions.
that totally defeats the bidding process of somebody
Of
coming
the
in if you're
RFP.
gonna negotiate with every single one of these law firms.
No, we answer some questions, like, is there any travel time that is cost for prosecution? Is there any travel
Yeah.
time? $110.
We're getting way
What
off
is a
We're just beating
legal
the dead
clerk
horse.
gonna be
Right.
doing?
Read the
How-
motion,
How many
take the
hours are
vote.
we gonna get at $50?
Bob, if you
And-
don't stop, I'll have you removed, and I can't do that.
Pardon me?
If you don't stop, when I call the motion, I'll have you removed.
Okay, very, very good, Mr. President.
Review legal RFPs.
I don't know if
Now, are we
we need to.
legal, are we, within the subcommittee, are you reviewing or are you negotiating?
Reviewing and getting information, if we wanted clarification from Mr. Clark if it was, the retainer had for 2 categories, if a retainer would have an adjustment or not if it was 1 category. That would be one question. And the other question would be, is there any travel time for the other? Those are the questions that I guess a subcommittee would get answers for. Because if there is travel time, then that's a factor.
For some reason, I'm thinking we're circumventing our RFP that we put out as a, and then what we're
Most
doing
definitely,
is
we are.
putting it out on.
They didn't like the results, so they don't like it. And it's that simple.
That's a waste of $600 right there.
I'll vote.
Bartholomew?
Could you please reread that for me?
To form a subcommittee to review legal RFPs with questions.
Yes.
Pretty much it. Edwards,
No.
Hart,
Yes.
Melzon,
Yes?
Poznanski,
No.
President Siglo.
No.
All right, we didn't get anywhere on that one either.
All right.
Can we push this off to next month? We'll
Yeah,
have a
when
full board.
Fowler's here.
Well, at least we'll have a full board, we can actually make some decisions.
Right.
Right now, it's gonna be 3-3, no matter
Right.
what you do.
Yeah.
So,
So,
why beat
Good
that
point.
dead horse over
I
and
know,
over
I'm
and over?
done. I'm done.
So now what we have is an open RFP.
Yeah, what do we want to do with that? You guys keep that confidential?
No, give them all back to me.
Is that what we would do?
Yeah. All of them.
Why wouldn't we keep them in our envelope and keep it confidential? I don't know why
Because
we
they're
have to
gonna
give it back to
They're gonna
you.
be squared around all over the place, so I
Pardon?
mean, this is why we put the RFP together to make the decision.
But I mean, if we're gonna
We
have
gave you guys
a-
all ample amount of information to make a legitimate decision on this.
Okay.
I mean,
Is that really what we have to do?
distribute them to I mean, you know,
Well, I don't
Put them in
think,
next month's, put them in.
all of us
next
are
month's
sworn in. I don't think any of us are
Right.
gonna put this out for any personal, if we are gonna do that, it would
Number
already been
2,
done.
old business RFP video
Keep 'em.
production contract.
You can understand the president.
no,
What do you want to discuss on this?
you gonna give a synopsis for the video, like you did before? Is that how you're gonna,
yeah, let me get organized first. So we tabled
Legal services.
organized. So, we sent out an RFP for video services. We had 3 responses. One from MidTV, one from My Community Media, and one from SoundQ Entertainment. As you can see, they're open in the presence of a witness, like the other RFPs have been. As you can see, there's a detailed information in regards to the RFP, the remainder of the 7 months of this year that we have budgeted. Next year, which is in orange, which is 12 months, and the following year is 12, which is in the green for the next year. So it goes December 1st, 16, to the end of the fiscal year, 6/30 of 17, then 17 to 18, and 18 to 19. Budgetary timeframes. Vendors that we received information from, like I said before, is MidTV at Romeo, My Community Media, or WBRW, which is out of Washington, and then SoundQ out of Trenton. We did this RFP because there was it's a substantial amount of money to spend. The one individual wanted $70,000 on top of the PEG fees, which was part of the PEG fees, I'm sorry. So what we have in front of us for MidTV, well, I mean, you guys have it right there. Do you guys want, what do you guys want to discuss? The best option monetarily is My Community Media. option D, which is 57,000 for the next year and a half, or 2 years and 7 months. You break that down, that's our franchise, our PEG fees. There's no out-of-pocket expense to us. Mid-TV, they want 17,000 for the remainder of the year, and then 75,000 for the next 2 years, each. Sound Q, you guys had the ability to look through it. First year, 6,090, second year, 9,900, and third year, I wasn't really too sure what they were going after. So, but as you guys can see in your packets, I'm not making anything up, okay? So, it's up to the Village of Romeo to ask questions. I know we do have a member from WBRW here, or sorry, My Community Media. Do we have anybody from MIT here this evening? No. And then Sound Q, anybody from Sound Q? No. Okay. Sorry.
Mike, we have 6 members from WBRW here,
Okay.
including the
I got
kitchen.
So, it's time for you guys to ask questions, make sense of what you guys want to do. Right now, we have $24,000 budgeted for this year for video consulting or video production.
I would make a motion to take the contract with Michigan Community Media Incorporated for the option D of 57,000 that covers our PEG fees exactly with no out-of-pocket fees.
Well, okay, well, let's get your motion, but there's some,
What is that one? 2.
Yes, we do all this for the dollars and cents. That's the most sense one. This Sound Q, I have no idea what it would give us if it's.
I'll second the motion.
are you open for discussion now?
Yep.
Discussion.
Okay. When I read through them, the proposals are obviously two totally different products. One is web-based and one is cable-based. So it's, to me, very difficult to decipher really what we're bidding on, with the exception of the list of the value-added services that were in the MIT TV proposal. So I saw the programming that they've been doing, that they continue to do, and the scope of their services seems to be much broader than what My Community Media was doing, although there was some added services to their contract, not to the extent that I saw in the MIT TV. Last month, at our board meeting, we had some discussion about what did we have in our budget for them. And we budgeted the 24,000, and I think that the MIT TV's proposal at that point was for the franchise fees and the PEG fees, which is where that number came from, not to speak on her half. And I asked for clarification of what is a PEG fee and what is a franchise fee. And then I did a little research, and I saw some lawsuits in other communities. 2005, the city of Warren, Troy, Midland, Grand Rapids, Ann Arbor, St. Clair Shores, Canton, Royal Oak, Muskegon, Livonia, Plymouth, and Westland were all named as defendants in the lawsuit for using cable franchise fees for non-communication expenses. And in that lawsuit, they lost. So before we keep the franchise fees, I wanted to ask Mr. Clark to please look into that to see if there was some precedent set that we need to consider before we just keep the franchise fee money and plug holes in our general fund budget, which was what was alluded to.
And what I'm seeing here,
Do you mind if I see that?
the mid-TV rate is a little bit higher than My Community Media to take us just from this point forward as far as our meetings through till the end of our fiscal year.
And not
As is-
necessarily, because those meetings,
Excuse me?
they're not the same. The MIT TV quoted out 21 meetings, and WBRW only quoted out 18. So actually, WBRW is a bit more
A little bit more if you were to go by meeting.
by, if you did apples to apples.
Right, and thank you. The 17,850 is just going forward. It's not taking any charge for all of the 7 months that we've been getting.
Sorry, I just wanted to correct that. That's my math. Because we have 7 months left and we normally have 3 meetings a month at 8:50.
No, I know,
They
I redid your
quoted
math.
their,
I redid your math.
alright. So it was 17,
A
850.
WBRW is essentially charging us $8.89 a meeting for the 7 months, and the MIT is charging us $8.50 a meeting.
Okay.
And the 7 months we've enjoyed at no cost, you know, I don't think we should just walk away from what the MIT TV. It is apples to oranges, and I don't know the scope of all, that's a very good question you brought up as far as how those dollars go. And it is a whole different proposal. I think, not to speak for what MIT TV is doing, but what I think it's trying to do is working from the same budgets that we had when we were working with the cable and create this whole thing. And franchise fees are going down. I don't know how this is going, this at some point has to become sustainable where it's gonna generate revenue to be able to work itself. So I'm not ready to, the 75 isn't good either, but you don't wanna walk away from what the MIT does. They're doing awesome work.
What do they do? I guess I still have never seen them, so.
Oh, well,
Don't
it's
know.
pretty much Facebook stuff, but you can go online to the online thing. They have the meetings are up like in a day. The quality is great. The other
So
ancillary.
it's all on internet, it's not on cable TV?
I can pull it up on my phone right now
But
and
it's all
show it to
internet.
you, yes.
The biggest
It's all
complaint that we get
internet-based.
that comes into our office is that our meetings are not on WBRW anymore. They don't see the local meetings, which where more people
Right.
watch it.
Well,
But, I mean, this is.
I think, no, I understand. I think there's a certain audience I know people that put it on, they have Channel 6 on 24/7, and they're walking around cleaning their house and it's on, and our meetings are on 2 o'clock in the morning or whatever. I have people that walk up and say,
So
they've
pretty
seen the
informed.
meetings. But that's the other thing, the drop with WBRW, there's some ownership there, and I would think if we were talking about having WBRW broadcasting, they take content from Chesterfield and all over, that if they were to broadcast, our meetings, that would be a discussion, because there is some ownership there of the drop. So those are some other things that we can work through so that it can be, personally, the way that this is sent out works great.
Yeah, but it's more than twice as expensive in year 2 and 3.
No, yeah, but see, I'm not
Actually-
going there. I'm not discussing that we are
I
gonna
don't-
say that we're gonna be going at this point. This needs to be
Yeah, but if you-
discussed.
Once you go down the hole, aren't you gonna continue down that hole?
I wanna make one quick point, and it's just only monetary amount. Us going out for RFP and backing out of our contract with Washington Township is actually saving us an additional $20,000 off the half of the franchise fees that we negotiated with them in the past. Does that make any sense? I know I said it fast.
No.
But,
This price is half what we paid before.
remember when we first negotiated with WBRW, we
Yeah.
negotiated for half the franchise fees. They told us to get lost. We just, I shouldn't say that. They didn't tell us to get lost. They said no. We broke the contract with WBRW along with Bruce
Okay.
Township because we were gonna go half, so we can use these monies to help offset a cost for Bruce Township to build roads, pay for the roads that they built. What we're dealing with now is that they've sent an RFP that actually is half of what we negotiated in the first time when we backed it out.
Okay.
So it's
But I think
it's a
that whole
pretty
kind of-
decent deal right now. That's why I went out for bid for this, and if you divide it 57 by, I say 3 years, because it's not really 3 years, it's actually 2 years and 7 months. It's roughly right around that $22,000 that we're looking at.
Right.
And it's actually half of what we tried negotiating our franchise fees down in the very beginning. And now we're gonna get the same service that we've actually done for 20,000.
But the cable is dwindling, that is going
Well,
down.
I know, but that's why it's only, we're not gonna lose all of our franchise
But is
fees
it
within
dwindling
the
with
next
the people
3
that
years.
actually watch?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
These
that,
shows. I
the,
mean,
you know,
again-
you have direct to TV and other things.
The older
that-
people aren't watching the internet, they're watching the cable TV.
But the
Channel.
younger people are watching
But
the
they're not
live
watching
streaming.
channels, they're not watching our meetings.
But
Right.
they're watching the live streaming of all the sports.
You know what, people watching our meetings are probably
Right.
over 40
Yeah,
at
and
the
I-
minimum.
Because what I would like to see is go with the MIT for the remainder, for our fiscal year, we have the budget, the 17,850, it's more meetings and it's less money. Continue,
more
that'll kind of
meetings.
take care of this, and then work on what we really want to do and answer the question that Christine, as far as how those dollars get spent. So,
It's more meetings, but included in finishing out, say, the 1 year, the 7 months, not only does WBRW cover 18 meetings, but they also include library board, community school board meetings, fall sports, winter sports. MIT doesn't cover any of that, it's just covering 21 meetings.
No, there's all the value-added services in their meeting as well, in their,
but that goes to the other budget, that goes to that higher budget of all the things they're doing, which
Right.
again, that's apples to oranges.
No, it's actually
If you
apples
look
to
at
apples,
page
because
10,
they're gonna be covering the same
Megan,
amount of stuff, no
look at
matter
page
what,
10.
because there's dueling news agencies or media outlets at every event now. So, I mean,
But
especially
that's
for
not what
Peach
she
Festival.
quoted out in her price. In her price, she has only under finishing out the remainder of the year, flat fee, $850 per meeting. There's not, she mentions nothing else about,
then,
covering anything else but meetings for the remainder of the year. Am I wrong?
Thank you right now.
no, I'm pretty sure that the other,
And technically, I think the billing would start,
it included the, on page
second
23, it was the
year.
lump sum for the meetings, basic services, and the value-added services as described under description of value-added services. That's on the bottom of page 23.
Yeah, but that's a different time period. That's July 1st to 17.
yeah, that's
That's a different
Right.
year. That's not included in the 7 months.
6250.
That's what they've been doing. All those value-added services is what the MIT already has been doing, continues to do.
Remember
But what
that's,
I'm
go ahead, sorry.
I'm not seeing in here a quote that includes those. I'm only seeing a quote for the remainder of the 7 months to only cover 21 meetings.
Do we need another subcommittee to have questions answered?
There's no,
There's a
this is what
motion
the
on the
art,
table.
this is what this
Right.
states.
I'm just, you are correct, because it starts in the next fiscal year charging $62.50 a month. It's $6,250 a month to pay for videoing our meetings and
She
then
can-
additional added.
Right, and I don't
values
think
there.
that's where we'll end up going
That's-
either.
That's a long, that's a lot of money for somebody, like I
Right.
said in the beginning, to hire somebody to come film the meetings, throw it on YouTube, and then put it on I mean, that's a substantial amount. One thing is with the PEG fees, and we can figure out what we,
But the
wanna
legal
do-
question on the franchise fees, that's a
That's-
legitimate thing
yeah.
too.
I guess we've been in the wrong since WBRW were grabbing stuff from
Yeah, but
here on.
we should-
Well, we were
Giving
using
the
it,
money
we were
away.
using it for, no, I'm not
Just
saying.
to use
not
it
saying
up, you
giving
can't
it
just
away.
give it away.
We've been using it for the purpose. Now all of a sudden, we're in a first year where we're not doing that. Is there a legal question? I think that's very valid. There was a lawsuit, you said they lost,
In front of you.
they lost the suit. And all of a sudden, this is a change for us. Before that, we were paying WBRW with all those franchise fees. Now all of a sudden, we're saying we're gonna put that, I'm a person that pays that fee, and I have Comcast, so I'm paying money that's going to the general fund. It's like a double tax. So.
No, it's you getting cable. That's
No, I
really
know,
what it
but
is.
the village is collecting a fee for me having that they're putting into an, and I don't know if it's legal or not, there's a question. They said it wasn't legal,
It's kind
so.
of like the DDA
This is
people
new-
paying
this
money
is a
and then
new-
not getting that money.
This is a new territory, we're putting the franchise fees in our general fund, we haven't done that before.
Well, right now, our expenditure would be only the PEG fees. Now, if we need to spend later on, franchise fees and something other than.
Right, we don't know.
Public education and government is what the PEG fees are used for.
Just, that's why I would just say I'd like to continue with the MIT just through our fiscal year. We have the budget, and even though she's not charging, there's all the 7 months that they've already provided for us at, at no cost to us. So it kind of maybe evens that up a little bit, but you have a different motion that's on there, so.
Yeah, motion.
Let's read the motion. to go
Motion
over.
from Sigalo, supported by Poznansky, to approve My Community Media for the video production,
For option D,
option D.
which is the best price
By far.
by far.
Number roll. Any other further discussion? Bartholomew?
Yes.
Edwards?
Yes.
Fowler? Oops. Sorry, bud, you're not here. Hart?
No.
Malzahn?
No.
Poznansky?
No.
President Sigalo?
Yes.
Fails, 3-3.
I'd like to make a motion that we would continue with the MIT TV just through our fiscal year for the 17,850 to do our meetings through the end of our year, which we budgeted for. And then we'll visit answer the question and do that. So that would be my motion, is just to carry us through June. So option, just year one.
And then what about year two?
Pardon? Well, I don't even know what we can do with all of that.
Am I able to speak?
Yes, you're able to.
My name is Jeff Grayson. I'm with WBRW. There's been some question about the internet. I can turn my phone on right now, and you can listen to WBRW TV. You can watch it. You can watch a Detroit Catholic Central game against Romeo. You can watch all the things that are going on in the community. You can watch it on demand. You can go to WBRWTV.com. You can tell your relatives in North Carolina to watch your kids at all the junior highs that we went up and covered, to see the parades. They can see us in China. So this misnomer that cable is dead is a misnomer. We are cable. Ms. Malzone, you mentioned on February 17th at a meeting that the residents are unhappy they can't see WBRW on Channel 6. And there are residents that are unhappy. We cover a lot of things in this community. We are on the internet. So we give you a double bang for your buck. And on top of that, you can go on demand and you can see things that happened years ago with the fathers for the Romeo Bulldogs football. All of that's still there. And we've offered you guys a great deal, and we want to be a part of this. And we want to bring these communities together again. So I hope you consider that.
Thank you, sir. Hart?
All right, so we're going off the cuff from this RFP.
No, we're just going with year one.
Year one.
All right.
Did they intend that?
Will they accept that?
Here's the price of, yeah, when,
They put it,
Just put together a 3-year quote.
just like the
But again,
attorneys. I
with
mean,
regular
they wanna bring it up
attorneys,
like something.
We can do it 1, 2, 3, 5 years, however.
We can? Is that
Correct,
what the
James?
proposal's for?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to throw you on the bus, but that's what you said before. The same thing for legal, where it's annual, we have the latitude to do 1, 2, 5, however many years. We ask for pricing.
I believe the RFP is set up that you can choose your term, but I'll
Yes.
confirm.
Okay.
There,
Very a la carte.
it is a la, that's what they did, a la carte menu there. But
Yeah.
with option D, it pulled all of them for, My Community Medium, pulled all of them together into one quote, divided by the 3 years. So I mean, and you save substantial amount of money. If they went 1, 2, and 3,
Less than 20,000
you're
a
going,
year.
yeah, 60, 70, 82,000 if
That's
you
not the
went.
motion on the table.
I know, I'm just saying, but mathematically, if you
That
went
was
3
last
years,
Discussion.
was 150,000, 167,000 for MIT for the next 3 years. Or you could go 57 with My Community Media, and then the third one, we're not really too sure what that is.
Yeah, we don't even have a budget, you know, I don't know, I would just say, yeah, so anyway, I have a motion for the 17,850 to take us through the end of June.
Well,
And we can get the answer on how we can spend our cable fees and all that, so.
Now, if we budgeted 24,000, shouldn't that be only half of the 24,000? Because we only got a half a year left.
Well, we've had, and again, I know you don't have to pay for anything, but we've received a full year of service.
I'm not going by that type of.
I know you're not, and it's not part of the contract, but for 17,845, it's.
You don't wanna pay for anything that is, somebody did for free prior to not having a
Right,
contract.
it's 1850 more, and it's more meetings than what the 6-month contract is with WBRW, so anyway, it's what my motion is, and
Alright. You're gonna take the 17,850, to move forward with the rest of the year up until June with, mid-TV.
June 30th, yeah.
June 30th. TV. Alright, and the support was by,
Me.
Bartholomew,
Yes.
Edwards,
No.
Hart,
Yes.
Melzat,
Yes?
Nancy,
No,
no,
President Siglo. Alright, fail.
I'd like to make a motion.
Yes.
I'd like to contract the 1 year out to Michigan Community Media. The remaining 7 months.
second,
To be. Actually, it's to C, but to be. 1 year, two.
This is one of the home notes.
Yes.
Guess I'm not gonna make the football banquet.
Can you move the meetings up to 6 o'clock?
Pause. Siglo. Alright,
any more
at
discussion?
16,000 for the remainder of the year. Bartholomew,
No.
Edwards,
Yes.
Fowler, absent.
He's
Hart,
still absent.
No,
Melzan,
No.
Nancy,
Yes.
I can't
President
find it.
Siglo.
Yes,
Dale.
God,
Alright.
all right, well, what do we do?
Well, since now that everything's out and open,
so much for the RFP. Old
Is it
business,
possible-
number 3,
So are we tabling this? Are we just postponing this till next month again?
Yeah, I
Pending,
guess you put
pending
your committee
answers
together
on
and-
this?
that's
I
what,
know that failed,
Are there any,
committee failed.
are there any rules
Yeah.
that when it is split? that have
So we're tabling.
deciding vote?
We're tabling until we have another vote.
table, I don't, unless we wanna have one more discussion.
All
No.
right, what do you wanna, you got a topic?
To December.
I think most of the people are gonna be watching this, are all gonna be watching it on cable, not on the internet.
I would agree.
And they're gonna wonder why we've went through this
They're
ordeal.
not gonna have computer, they're not gonna be all that. I think they're gonna be more cable TV savvy. Of course, you can get it on the internet.
Of course,
Hey, I'm a consultant with WB, I've been around for like 6 years. Some of the added values that the cable provides, we provide all the sports. We provide 6 football games, halftime shows. We go out and get the opposing teams DVD, put on there. Plus we do swimming, wrestling, fall sports. You get it all with our station. We also get it on the internet, you get it on your phone, and we turn the channel around. We talked about costs. Costs seem to be a big issue. You just walked away from probably the best cost you've seen. Don't understand it.
I concur.
And I gotta think your viewers, it's being taped, they're gonna say, what are you doing? It's all about cost. That's why the contract didn't, you left before, because the cost, we come back, we've given you a great proposal,
Best
and
proposal.
you're tabling it. I guess what I don't understand, if you look at the content and what we do, seems to be pretty clear to us, but I'm a little biased about it because I'm out there working. and we service all three communities. Everybody sees our station. You still see our station. You can go online and see some of your past board meetings. We've supported you, we constantly support you. So,
Thank you, sir.
I would point out that this is the MIT TV that's videotaping this today, free of charge. So if anybody wants to watch the meeting, you
So-
would see it on their portal.
That's true, and you can go back 3 decades and see what
Right,
the
right.
BRW did for it. We did it for over 30 years.
How do you see them? How do you see them on TV?
You can log on to their website and watch all their programming. You can, if you have a smart TV, you can just add that to your program through Roku or through a Fire Stick TV. You
Nobody
can
that watches the
download-
show
you can
has
download
video.
great
And
videos.
so for people, you have to have internet access.
I'll give you a lesson, Matt.
It's an internet.
But that's not the
It is
point.
internet-based,
It's only-
yes. It is
So for the
internet-based.
people that don't have access to internet, then they have to know.
Sir?
Hi, I'm the treasurer of not MIT, excuse me, WBRW. Couple of things, proposed or options C and D. Billing doesn't start until July 1st, which is your next fiscal year. So there's no out-of-pocket expenses if you accept any of those expenses. That helps your budget. Second, we're the only ones playing the playoffs. If you notice, you can watch the playoffs on either Channel 6 or the other channel, on AT&T or the Comcast. We pay extra fees to get that. I don't believe MIT-TV is broadcasting any playoff games, just for your consideration.
Can't you get licensed through
Thank you, sir. My favorite person of Romeo.
Just to say about it, was correct something Mr. Clark said, and that's, well, he was correct at the $125,000.
Mr. Parker, I can't hear you.
The DEA attorney recently raised his rates, as you remember, last spring to $175 an hour. And if you pick up the phone, you're gonna spend $175. And that's just a comment, period.
I really
Thank
can't
you,
hear
sir.
him.
Bill, they couldn't hear you, gotta say it louder.
I think Tab did.
I mean, can you, Mr. Parker, could you come up here?
Sorry, the DDA attorney raised his rates to $175 an hour this spring. If you pick up the phone and call him, you're gonna spend $175. That
They
was
raised
in one of
their
our
rates.
meetings, Tab was there, he'll vouch
It's
for it.
not relevant to this
Okay.
discussion.
Just with the
But we should
attorney
have a
fees are
podium
going
up
up.
here and people should be speaking here, because I do have a hard time when it's that far away.
Thank you, Mr. Park. Any more comments? Moving on to sewer.
So do we have a motion on the table?
No, we
I think
just
it-
tabled
I
it.
think
They failed.
It
It
failed.
I mean, they
For the
both
1 year?
failed. They
Yeah,
both
it failed.
failed.
Everything's failed tonight.
Okay. Yeah,
Christine, you wanted to add the sewer?
Yeah, I just wanted to, for it to not even be on the agenda, I was just kind of surprised. I don't know where we stand on it. I know that I talked to Mr. Paderak, as I was asking him, I went to, and I sent everybody an email. Well, I don't think I sent you guys, because you weren't on board yet. I met with Mr. Paderak on Friday. It was a meeting that he was meeting with Skip, and I wanted to go just to get up, because Skip is leaving, and I didn't want to lose all of what we had worked with. And I know Mr. Russell was in that. And so I had gotten that proposal. I didn't know anything about it. All I talked with Skip, and that is to get the history. Skip actually gave me kind of a synopsis. This has been going on for 2 years, and as a board, we've been like waiting for this. So they gave us a proposal, and we didn't even get it in our packet or to discuss it, or?
No, this is what happened.
Okay.
all right? Their attorney, Armada's attorney, was supposed to provide us with all the changes a week after our committee
Right.
meeting. We didn't hear anything about it, me or Mr. Clark, until Mr. Edwards was being contacted, or the trustees been contacted
Right.
individually
I know all that.
by Armada Township Supervisor.
I understand.
He sent it to Mr. Clark.
Right.
Mr. Clark asked me if I knew anything about it. I didn't know anything
Right.
about it.
I understand.
Monday,
No, I understand
okay?
all the history.
So there is nothing that we're supposed to, tonight would probably be the best time to actually put together a new sewer committee for that. And then we can review, because it was supposed to come back to the committee. It didn't. Mr. Paderak contacted
Okay, and
individual.
hey, Mr. Paderak, sir, don't be pointing your finger and.
Well, I'm just
you know.
pointing, if everybody
I
doesn't
know,
know who
but
Mr.
it's-
Paderak is, he's
I
back
mean-
there. I mean, the trustees don't know who he is.
No, okay.
Right?
No, and I understand all that. Now, when you met with
So-
him on the weekend, and Mr. Paderak is here, he can speak for a bit. When you met him for the weekend and you didn't tell anybody that you had met with him, or?
No.
No, okay. But when this is going on, if they provided something in time to come in our packets, why would we, who made a decision that it wouldn't go in our packet?
it wasn't to go in our packets. We got together one-on-one to talk about what we both thought about it, and the attorneys were still supposed, we discussed that, and we never discussed it being in our packet this month, because it's supposed to go to the attorneys first. That's why it's not in your packet.
When he
And
talked
then
to
the
me,
sub-
I know his intent was to have it go in our packet for this one.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
what-
because the committees were supposed to meet for that. The
But
committee
you
did
had a
not-
There
couple
was nothing to
questions,
put in
you had
there.
a couple questions and then everything stopped. I mean, Mr. Paderak has been trying for very hard for a year and a half.
I don't
have all
disagree
the
with that,
documented
but there was no actual contract. There was some wording jotted down. It wasn't
It
even
was a
legal.
contract, it was
It wasn't even
illegal.
legal verbiage, Bob.
It wasn't? Okay.
No,
I'm not an
it
attorney.
wasn't.
I thought it came from an attorney.
Well, mine didn't.
Mr. Paderak, did your attorney draft a proposal, an agreement?
The final draft was drafted by Siebert,
And
Delasky,
we got it on Wednesday, right?
yes.
The one I didn't, and if it was
Okay.
a poor job. I was
You
not
got it
under the
on
assumption that
Wednesday?
was
Who got it on
a
Wednesday?
contract.
The office.
How do you know that?
Mr. Paderak told me his attorney
Oh.
got it to the office on Wednesday so that it could be in our packet on Thursday. I've been in contact with Mr. Paderak off and on, you know, as he's trying to get this through.
What it was supposed to do was go back to the committee. Tonight, we can go and put the band back together and form a committee because two of the committee members are no longer here.
Right, but I think we
So
had
if
a
you had-
motion, we put a motion in that we were gonna do 30,000 gallons. It was gonna be a 40,000, we put together everything. It was like 99%, it was just dotting the i's and crossing the t's.
It wasn't, no, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't. There was
a
more
lot
to it
of-
than
there
that.
was there was a whole bunch of stuff that, from fines,
I don't have it in front of me,
fees,
but there
or anything
was
like that.
more in there than that need to be looked over. And if their attorney was gonna deliver a copy the very next week, like Mike said, to our attorney to look over and present to the sewer committee to present to us, and that never happened.
Okay, what I would
I
say.
mean, you could approve, you can approve the contract that we don't have in front of us.
No, I
know
guess I
we
couldn't.
don't want to,
No,
because that's what.
no, and I don't even know that, I asked you a question to ask Mr. Metz, what, the cost would be for that kind of portion.
It wouldn't be.
Mr. Metz would be,
I
yeah.
didn't have time to review it yet, but it wouldn't have been Tim, it's
Oh.
gonna be Al.
Yeah,
But
okay.
it's operational costs and stuff will
Okay.
be complete. It was an operation, I think it was an
I'm not trying to be
operational
combative,
No, I
but
know, I'm just
this has
saying, I
been
don't
going
know.
on and
I didn't
it's,
Well, I'm telling you why it's not in the meeting, why it's not in the packet.
there's been, right, there's been
wasn't
like
complete.
months where we've been dragging our feet on trying to get together and getting the meetings and getting this done. And the majority of the board has wanted to
I
do
was hoping
this
to get it done
agreement.
this month as well, but it wasn't complete.
Both communities want this to happen.
Correct.
We just don't want to see.
Just gotta be right.
You know what, how about, and I don't know where we're at, or how far, maybe you know better, if we had a special meeting in a week and a half, 10 days or something, would we have that to where we could have a contract to move on, or,
I think
No,
that's
because-
too soon.
No,
Especially with the
Do we
holiday.
wanna get the committee together?
pardon?
Do we wanna have the committee review it like what we were supposed to do in the last time? Within the
I
last
don't know
time?
what the purpose of the subcommittee is at this point,
Well,
because
we just wanted to get two committees together, or maybe one? No. I think we're tabling everything, right? I can't remember what we did with the last two RFPs.
Right,
We tabled both of it, so we're gonna come back and,
because the motion's failed.
Right.
alright, so are we gonna form a committee for this or no?
I don't know who's gonna be in the committee to sit there, we aren't, how close are we? I mean, you've been in all the meetings, most of the meetings,
I
Mike,
was only
you've
in the
been in
last one.
every
I've
meeting.
been in every single meeting.
Yeah, and, you know, we've been going on this for 2 years, and it went back to a 425, I
It's
mean.
been going on for 15 years of trying to provide sewer to Armada.
Right,
Yeah, lot
So,
more.
I mean, it's not, right now, I mean, they gave us they sent over a document that the committee was supposed to review almost 4 weeks ago. Okay, so if we wanna form a committee to get together, review the document,
I mean, it's not close enough that the board could review I mean, are we that far away? Skip had told me we were like there. I didn't talk to Mr. Rosell. Zach Fowler, I think he came to the last couple meetings, but it pretty much was Mr. Rosell and Mr. Torno. And they, you know, from Skip's position, they were like,
the agreement on the monetary amounts and all that pretty much are hashed out. It's all the little fine-tuned points that really are
It
the
is.
meat and potatoes of the.
Right, but are those
And are
things
those-
that Armada, you're asking them to put all the fines and all the stuff in that, or is those things that we're
They're,
directing?
no, we drove the questions that needed to be corrected. They put them into fruition into the paper. I didn't have time to reread it, but reread the contract that was sent, so.
Mr. Clark, did you read the
I have.
contract? Okay.
Yep,
And-
Matt sent it to me.
Right, how close are we in, you're saying it's,
Well-
Pat's saying it's not a legal
Well,
document.
I don't know if it's the same thing that I don't even know it's the same.
Do you want me to tell you what my concerns are?
Yeah, did you see the one that was sent Wednesday?
I received one earlier from Matt, and I responded to him. And then I received one from Mr. Siebert, the township's attorney, at 3:48 PM on Wednesday.
Did you read that one?
I have read it.
Is it a legal document?
Well, yes, I mean, it's words on paper, legal document. I don't wanna.
Dad said it wasn't a legal document.
Well,
I don't know if what he got was the same as what I
I
got.
don't know either.
Let me just tell you.
Might be two different
What I
things.
got was not.
That's why, guys, that's why we don't have subcommittees of one floating all over. That's why we put into a committee so we can all review the same doc.
Right.
All right, not have Supervisor Pederak go to every individual to discuss what your ideas are.
Let me say this, if both sides sign this, it would be binding on both sides. I would recommend against the village signing this. But it could be signed and it could bind both parties. When Matt sent me the copy, a few days later, I could look and see, but in any event, I got a call from Mr. Siebert saying he was gonna send it to me, and I said, well, I already have one from one of the trustees, which I had forwarded to Mr. Lee. Mr. Siebert did send me one directly, which I also forwarded to Mr. Lee, and my suggestion was, in case there are differences between the two documents, which I don't think there are, but in case there are, the village should review and make a decision based on the one Mr. Siebert sent.
I would agree.
And that's what I told Mr. Siebert, and I have received this, and I have read it. And I can comment on it now, or you can have it in front of you and I can comment on it, whatever your pleasure is. But I have read it and I have thoughts about it.
Please comment.
Okay, the first item is the term of the agreement. It's for 30 years. And it says that Armada has the right to extend it for 20 years. I don't think that the extension should be unilateral on the part of Armada, because it says for 20 years on the same terms. One of my concerns that I've expressed to you before on the pricing schedule, if you look at the time value of money, the village is gonna, even if inflation stays modest, which I'm not overly optimistic it will, that the village is gonna lose ground on the money. Hence, there was an addition of a multiplier, a cost of living type of a multiplier, which is placed in there, but I don't know that you want to go out 50 years on a unilateral extension by Armada. Another concern that I had about it is that it speaks about the village's obligation shall include those facilities located within the village as well as those facilities located within Armada. I don't agree with that. I would recommend that you not be responsible for the pipes and valves and other things that are gonna be on the east side of Powell Road. I don't think that the village, you can require them to have the same standards you do, which there's language to that effect in the proposed agreement, but I do not recommend that the village should be responsible for Armada's lines and connections and those things. So I do have a concern about that. The other concern, and I've expressed this before, is that there's a mention made, because you have two things going on, maybe more. One of them is the flows. Somebody flushes the toilet, turns on the sink, whatever it is they do, and it goes out the pipe to their facility and somewhere connects with the village's pipe. And when the village gets it, the wastewater treatment plant, they have to treat it. Well, that makes sense, pretty easy stuff. But in the contract, it says the village will directly invoice the property owners within the Armada Sewer District. Again, I don't think the village should be sending bills to Armada property owners. Your contract is not with the individual property owners, it would be with the Township of Armada. And the two things that you have going is the treatment of whatever wastewater is put through the system, but also for which you're gonna receive this annual payment, but you're also going to be charging based on the metered use. So you want the individual property owners to be metered, and they can submit those bills to the township, or the township can collect them, but the payment should come based on the metered use from the township to the village. I don't recommend that the village chase after its money with individual property owners. Another concern that I had, if there's an exceedance of the contractual capacity, it's my humble opinion that the penalties are fairly modest. You want a penalty to be sufficient that it does not easily become a cost of doing business. If the township exceeds its flows, for 4 months, the proposal is that there'd be a 5% penalty of the average monthly amount paid. And that's if they exceed the 100% allotment. If they go to 120% for 2 consecutive months, the penalty would be 7.5%. Again, I don't know what the flows are going to be. They're limited to the 30,000, but if they greatly exceed that, and it's remunerative to the property owner to exceed the allotted flow, paying 5% for it or 7.5% seems to me to be modest. But you're in charge of the purse string, so that would be your decision, certainly. But that would be of a concern that I have. There's language in there about monitoring the daily flows and a reconciliation of those flows. That's a little vague for my comfort level, but it's manageable. And then it talks about the village shall waive penalty provisions if the township's making a good faith effort. I don't believe the village should be compelled to waive any penalty provision. It can have the discretion to do so, but I don't think it should be required to do so. If there are fines that are levied against the village, because keep in mind, the village is responsible for the operation of the wastewater treatment plant. It's the village's license and the license that's granted to that plant. If there's a violation, the language is that the township would pay a portion of the fines. If the fine relates to the township, in my opinion, and my recommendation is that the township should pay the entirety of the fine. There is some language on both sides. With respect to the hold harmless, each municipality would hold the other harmless for the acts of each municipality. Some of that language is not exactly complementary. It doesn't fit, and I think it should be a mirror image. That's more of a language.
Between you and Bob, yeah.
Or a text item, but I still think it's important. And those are my comments.
Okay.
It's only a few.
So what can you communicate
No,
then to
but
Mr. Seibert then?
I can tell him tomorrow. But I didn't want to act unilaterally. It's the council tells me if I should respond. I didn't want to speak for the council without being given the authority to do that.
And Al, do you have any idea, and I don't know if the west side of Powell will give you an idea, what is maintenance? What would you expect? Is that, I know it's just from history-wise, do you have any kind of an idea if that's something that is there? Because one of my thoughts, could be even what you put a cap, not if it exceeds a certain amount, then there's something, but can you speak to that?
The only thing I would know anything about is the maintenance on our lift station. Maintenance on lines, that's Tim. As far as our lift station, wouldn't be a lot. wouldn't be a lot that we would have to do extra, because we already do maintenance on it.
But that's kinda where I kinda like what Mark was saying, let the, Armada be responsible for their own lines. And we don't need to guess at what these maintenance issues may or may not be, they're just responsible for their lines. They fix their lines.
Another thing
Why-
though is that
why do
we
we-
hold the DEQ permit for that.
And we'd be doing the work because the Armada can't do it.
So they pay us
It'd
to
be
do it.
100%.
They, right, I know, but we'd have to do the work to be there.
It's very seldom that a sewer line's gonna break.
Right, I mean, I know only residential,
Pressurized, right.
you know?
Usually it's a blockage.
I mean, is there a big difference between the commercial and resident, I mean, residential, I know there's not a lot. I mean, it's more, some of the stuff, but commercial, is there more?
About the same, it's just worse. I mean, more rags.
More of it.
More of it. More commercial rags, more commercial products than.
That go down and clog
yes,
things.
Household, yes.
Then why wouldn't we just bill Armada then 100%?
It would be.
They say something,
As for each incident? Yeah.
30,000 gallons is not a lot, not a lot of flow. I would definitely have you put some language in there to address the fact that it would be very easy, I think, for that amount of businesses to go over 30,000 gallons. I'm not an engineer, but I think that if you definitely need to have some language in there to address
Overages.
whether they're going over, because I think it'd be very easy to do.
Which there is, correct?
Well, there is, again, I think it's modest, and the other thing is, I didn't have attached, and I'm not sure that I need to see it, but there's mention made of what the sewer district is going to be. Certainly, you're gonna want to know that it is what you think it is. And I also think that in terms of the metering, and I don't know, I'm assuming each business will be metered, but I don't know if there's gonna be a main or general meter of all the Armada flows to the village, but you're gonna
There
want
would have to
to,
be some sort of mag meter or something in line so that we could keep track of how much they're giving us. There would have to be.
yes. So, again, that I think should be addressed, and you also, I just think the penalty provisions are too modest, but you're in charge of the purse string, so that'll be up to you as to what you think that is. My recommendation is whatever that number is, you don't want it to be easily absorbed as a cost of doing business, because then it's no penalty. Then there's no incentive to stay within the limits that you've imposed.
Okay, so we should probably put together a subcommittee that we can meet and address these and do it this month. Meet and go over these things.
Zach is already on it, right?
Zach,
Add two.
do you wanna, well, you've been sitting in.
Yeah,
So two,
I'll
and
let
then
you
we
do
need
it,
a third.
I'll join you.
Edwards.
And
Perfect.
I'd love to do it.
That's a quorum.
What, 3 of us?
4.
Zach,
Zach's still,
yeah.
Zach's on the original.
I'll back off if you want to do it.
No,
That's fine.
I mean, I don't need to
Edwards
do
and
that.
Sidlow.
Because I thought Zach kind of, he started and then tatered out.
No, he's been at every single one from the beginning.
That's not what Skip told me, but
He came in late from the last one.
to the committee meetings?
Yeah.
He's been at all the committee meetings?
Yeah, pretty
Okay,
sure of it.
all right.
I can recheck the attendance on that.
No, that's fine. You wanna do it? That's
Yeah,
All right.
that's fine. I'm not gonna fight you for it.
No, I'm not gonna fight. I just wanted to do everything that we're doing to get
Just
this
wanna make sure
going.
it gets done. Number 4, pension OPEB. Discussion.
What I don't know if we have to put, Skip's gone. Skip was kind of leading on working with that, and I don't wanna drop that. So, I don't know if that's another subcommittee, I don't know if anybody was serving with Skip, and I would even ask, Skip's not on the board, he's not gonna vote, but maybe Skip would even, help, be involved, because he's a numbers guy. But I think we should be looking at that.
Thing is that OPEB, we can't do anything about right this second until we
Mhm.
figure out what we're getting in regards to
Right.
personal property. They did, Melzon set in on it also. We have a plan for a pension that's already in process
place.
to make us 100% whole. We've been doing that for years. All right, so right now.
We pay what they,
Yeah, but we have a plan for that to move through, which we are going. Now, we're
I
at
think we put it out for
70,
20 years.
67%, I think it was, 67%.
I don't recall the number off the top of my
But
head,
72 is where kind of the average, where everybody's at. We're a little bit lower than the average, but we also did that droop because of the reevaluation.
Okay.
All right, so that should droop a little tiny bit more, but then start positively going up over the next few years.
But Sue
So the
Feinberg
O-
did say, I'm sorry,
Go ahead,
I
no,
didn't
go
mean to
for it.
interrupt
Go
you.
for it,
No.
no, go for it. I paid attention about half the time because
Oh.
I knew what she was talking about.
I didn't mean to step on you there. But there were some other options, that she said we could possibly see as a savings, some other, multipliers that were built in that weren't being offered in other communities. So I think it is worth still investigating through a subcommittee, potential savings, and
Some of it is what, pension and retirement, I don't know, there's some things you
No.
can't touch, but there's some things with
Well-
retirement that, again, if you have some things going forward,
Well, the
we can
biggest
look at
thing
and
is
understand
trying to
those.
figure out what the state's trying to do too, because they're trying to micromanage local municipalities from the top. That's a big concern that what MERS has right now, and what the representatives throughout the state is being asked by all their constituents that actually work for municipalities. Not the state employees, because they're not gonna get touched, it's all the local municipalities that are gonna get the thumb put on them.
well, I still
right?
think we need a subcommittee because it's gonna look nasty on our audit if we, if we have to put the OPEB liability as a liability on our report this year, so
Yeah, which
making
is
sure that we
it's always
have
on
a
our
plan.
It's always under.
Well, this year it shows as a different number, in
Yeah,
a
it's a
different,
revaluation.
correct,
Yeah.
so it's gonna look a little
We did
different
lose
this
people,
year.
though, too.
But I think if there's still some other ways to save, to take a look at what other municipalities are doing for their OPEB liability, because the $10 million liability is there. We have to address it. If
It
we
does.
need to get some information from the state as far as what they're reimbursing us, then that's understandable, but I still think they're proactively, we can take a look at what everybody else is doing. So I'll continue to serve on that subcommittee if somebody else wants to serve with me. Learn all about pension and
And I don't know if someone else wants.
post-employment benefits.
I would really recommend, like Bob said, that.
I'm happy to work with Skip if the board is okay with that.
He's the numbers guy, he's.
Right,
But
and
he's
you
not a
understand
member
that,
of the
he
trustees.
likes that stuff, so he doesn't have a vote, but he could help be
Give
involved.
us and
Right.
Christine some
Right,
guidance.
right.
So we'll have,
And James was originally, that was the original idea for the
James,
$2,000, is that he would be able to,
I put somebody that's on the board that can give a recommendation and actually vote on their suggestion instead of,
If Skip's willing to help out, I mean, at no cost, you have a issue with that?
so
I mean,
I'd
he doesn't
rather
a
have
vote.
one,
Well, I think
another
both of them, but he could be in an additional person and not tying it into a quorum.
what about you?
I could be involved with that, but I'm not a whole numbers guy, but I can, if someone else wasn't gonna do it, I'll do it. But if you and Matt are already involved in it, then
No,
I don't.
I'm not.
You're not?
No.
he's doing sewer.
Huh?
He's doing sewer.
Okay, I would be on it, and I would like to have Skip,
Yeah, I think
him,
Skip would be.
help me, because he's a numbers guy. I
Yeah,
mean,
but what about Mellon? Isn't he a numbers guy? We're just gonna have anybody help that's a numbers guy.
Yeah, if anybody's a numbers guy that wasn't reelected, it would be Mellon.
I don't know him, so.
40 years of
Is-
training everybody in the Macomb County in regards to the monies, so.
I mean, I'd offer to be on the subcommittee, but I have no clue to these things. I could learn.
Oh, well, that's the whole name of the game.
want to have James helping.
So, Megan, Mel's on, and myself. I'm not a voting member, but I'm gonna be at every single meeting as it is anyways. So,
I'm fine with that.
then,
I'm good with that.
all right.
We'll have reading material to put us to sleep
Um,
for days.
But you need to understand that,
Honestly.
and you are, demonstrating that you do your due diligence and look that stuff up, and that's what we need. We need understanding, because I don't understand it, and it's big numbers.
I will try my best.
Number 5, to specify the $2,000 that Mr. Petrino is being paid.
Like I said, my biggest issue is that we extended his contract for $2,000, specifically stating to consult on OPEB. then we paid him to do an RFP. To me, that's misappropriation of funds. That's not what we set that $2,000 aside for. And in the 2 months since contracting that $2,000, I haven't seen anywhere where we've actually consulted him about OPEB. So if it hasn't been important for the last 2 months to consult with him, why would we keep him
Well,
on retainer?
it was
or-
Skip and there was the election. So, and they had a meeting, they had a subcommittee, meeting, so.
I didn't see that on the bill.
We didn't have a
We
subcommittee
did not
meeting.
ask Mr. Petrino to attend that meeting. It
We
was
didn't-
just informational purposes for
Right.
us to meet
Okay,
with.
but I'm saying he hasn't
the
consulted on the issue.
Right.
in- So if we haven't had need of him in the last 2 months, why are we gonna need him now?
Because we haven't addressed it yet.
So really, it was.
The OPEG and the pension and
Okay, well, now we're
those,
down to $1,500. Actually, more like $1,400 for that, to consult with OPEB, because we took $500-600 out to do an RFP that wasn't supposed to be even done. Are we gonna give him another $500? You're worried about nickel and diming for an attorney, but we're willing to give out $5,000 to $7,000? We could have saved that and given it to him.
Well, before you
Yeah,
say
yeah,
that,
yeah.
we just gave him $5,000. He
No,
also
so-
saved us
yes.
$50,000. So
I wouldn't
you
go
can't
that far,
just
but he did do work.
Say that, well,
Yes,
He did do work.
they do work.
Yes, he did.
Right.
For me,
And then
the
he charges us
$50,000
$7
savings
for
the
gas to
insurance,
drive
That was
here.
gonna change anyways, it had nothing to do with
I don't
his-
get, does anybody else get
Mr.
paid
Chairman.
to drive to work, your gas amount? Except
lots
for
of
you?
people do.
Right.
Yeah,
He's not an attorney,
You do it.
A lot.
But
Welcome.
but that's not in our contract, and why is that not in contract? Because we never sent out an RFP for a consultant, so we don't even have a contract with them.
For starters, it was put into place before we had the RFPs, the bid out service.
Okay, well,
We
maybe we need to do
contracted
that.
with him prior to.
Maybe we could
to
get a
the
better
whole
deal.
RFP process.
and a subcommittee
Yeah.
looked at, about 6 different.
A subcommittee that we approved?
Yep.
Yes, I mean, take a step back. I mean, your
We didn't-
first day at the meeting, yes, we had a
Yes, sir,
subcommittee.
it is my
The
first day at the
subcommittee,
meeting,
I
and I
can
will
get you the
come into
minutes
the
for the
meeting and ask
subcommittee.
questions, and I will come into the
No,
meeting
I
and
know.
state my
We
ground.
had a subcommittee that had about 6 different consultants that they went through, and the subcommittee made choices and then made a recommendation, and then the board, so everything was above board on how this was put together.
In your opinion.
Okay, yes, in my opinion.
First of all right, there wasn't a subcommittee that met with, in regards to pension and OPEB or anything like that. Me and Skip met with Sue Feinberg, all right, Christine came,
there, okay.
all right. There wasn't a committee.
I thought it was a
It
subcommittee.
was subcommittee
there's
of
no-
one.
there's no
but
sub-
Skip volunteered to do it.
Yes.
If you, yeah,
Yeah, I guess
Yeah,
it was a
to me.
subcommittee.
yes, it was a
That's-
subcommittee
I
of
love
one.
these subcommittees one. So, but, yeah, there was not a committee, it was just a
Okay.
meeting.
A
to-
meeting.
He
Okay.
was
I
gonna
mean,
get some
I misspoke.
information and,
Yeah.
right.
Okay.
To do it.
This
So I just wanna
board-
let you know.
This
We wanna
board
have a
asked him,
subcommittee
though, to help
to do
put the
that.
proposal together.
So,
This
Right now,
board
until we
asked
figure
him As
out-
a group.
No, I know, you
100%
asked him to put
voted
the RFP together,
put the RFP
but you
together.
shouldn't have. Because that is not covered under the scope of what the $2,000 is supposed to cover.
But the
agreed,
entire board agreed to that.
yeah, so.
And
you're
that's
right.
why we paid it,
Unanimously.
and that's why we paid it.
I don't think I
Yes.
voted for it.
I'd have to review the meeting.
You didn't, well, it's in
Yeah.
this last meeting minutes, so go figure, I mean, you guys just approved
Fowler
it.
and President Siglo did not,
Yeah,
and Rosell.
so, moving forward, once we get the OPEB, the new numbers from OPEB, from the auditing firm, because they're reevaluating the OPEB, alright? We know that the pension, we have a plan together already, working forward for pension. Once we get those numbers together, we can, work with James to find out if there's any other little tidbits in regards to our new evaluation with our OPEB. Also working for any type of, cost savers later on. In that time frame between then and there, all right, the state during lame duck is gonna push 200 and some bills through on a whim here in the next month or so. Probably more than that, who knows? That half the people don't know what they're gonna be voting on. We've made, we had concerns that were been addressed by all the local police departments in this area. along with MERS in regards to pushing people into a deferred comp after working for 20-some years. Representative Lucido is totally against that. All right, maybe moving forward later on to see what type of direction the state is gonna take here, then we can deal with that type of stuff.
But we
Right at
still
this
should
time
look at our
frame right now.
pension, our retirement, our retiree, the legacy costs, and we should understand what we have benchmarked against what is out there and what people are doing. Once you give a benefit and you have something, you can't take anything away, so you have to be proactive on what we're gonna move
And that's
forward.
what we're-
And
and
we
that's-
don't know what that is, so no matter where the dollars are, it's still time that we can study and understand what we have and what options are there.
No, that's correct. It's just, we don't
That's
know
all.
what everybody's gonna push down from the
Right,
top.
but
So-
we just need to take inventory of what we have here, and I, for one, don't really understand it, and I think we need to understand it, and it's big dollars, and it's, you know, we can't kick it down. I'm just not one to kick things down the road.
We're not kicking
and-
down the road, we have a plan in effect that it will be up
No.
100% in 20 years.
Right.
So we're not kicking it down the road, there's a plan in place.
Right, and,
I would like to see it a little sooner myself, but if it's working right now,
right, we're doing
It's not
what we
broke,
legally
don't
have
fix
to
it.
do. We're doing what we legally have to do. Is it the best plan? Maybe, and maybe there's something else we can do. If you knew, if we did it in 18 years instead of 20 years, does it save us $1 million? Then maybe we would say we do it. We just need to know. We just need the knowledge, that's all.
I don't know how, I just know Washington Township, you know, eliminated theirs, so it may
Need
be.
a lot of growth, though.
Right, absolutely, it could be from their tax base, that's what I said, I don't know how, but I just know it can be done to address it, and I just think we should look and see if we have any options to address it
I would agree
aggressively.
with Bob, it was growth. You know, Meyer, after Meyer went in, Washington Township blew up. Right?
In the meantime, regarding the $2,000 with Mr. Petrino, I'd like to actually make a motion to sever our ties with Petrino at this time. There was nothing for him on this agenda, but for the last, every hour he sat here, we're paying $130. So if we don't need him now, why are we paying him money?
I'll second
I
that.
believe that we do need his expertise.
We haven't used him in 2 months, so last meeting, he was here for 2 hours, charged us $260 plus the
But you did
$7
need
to
him
drive
because he
here,
wrote the RFP for the video broadcasting services.
which was not in the scope
So-
of his money.
We did, what I'm saying is we did utilize his services
And he
within the
will come
last 2
unless
months.
he's asked not to come, because it's been one time that he didn't show up, that he was chastised for that. So now he comes unless we tell him not to come. So that's how we've done it. So maybe he didn't need to be here tonight, but I think we need it for the reasons we were just talking with. And maybe if you understand a little bit more of what his background, what he's able to do,
I don't
I
think I
can
need
give
to
you a different
understand more, I think
perspective.
I
No, she's
understand
been
quite
here,
enough.
Right.
she's been at almost, I
Right.
think, every one of our meetings.
I've been to more meetings than some board
Right.
members.
I can give you another perspective, but. and I'd
I'll
like to
second
do
that.
it. All right?
Oh, I dazed off, sorry. It's not right to say, I'm sorry about that.
And if and when we do bring him back, I'd like to see an
Pause.
actual contract.
Pause. Signal. Do we want to,
I think you can get the contract from Mike.
to sever time?
The current one?
Mm-hmm, because there is one.
Until needed? Or how are we,
I was gonna make a motion after this, that we get an RFP for consulting fees. We have an RFP for everything else.
you guys are gonna kill me, slowly, softly. To sever ties with James Vitrino.
At this time, how about that?
All right. Bartholomew.
Has it been second?
Yeah, I said.
Yes.
Okay.
Signal.
To sever ties?
Yes.
No.
Edwards.
No.
Hart.
No.
Melzo.
No.
Poznanski.
Yes.
President Siglo.
Yes.
Fail. All right.
I'd like to make a motion that we put out an RFP for Romeo Village of Romeo's consulting duties.
For what area?
Whatever consulting you have been asking Mr. Petrino to do,
I don't know.
all areas. Any consulting that may come arise in the future.
But there are consultants that specialize in different areas, from my understanding, whether you're looking for somebody to consult on real estate or refinancing our bonds, or, I don't know.
Mr. Petrino's
what you're-
consulting, but Mr. Petrino is consulting right now.
Apparently what's in the current contract.
Right, which is what was recommended to us by SEMCOG. The
There's
issues
some
that were
history
brought
there.
forward to us with SEMCOG and our budgetary issues. That's what he was helping us address. So
We got an
that's-
RFP for everything
that's the
else,
scope
every
of
other
services.
professional, every other professional entity.
But right now, he has a current contract.
Technically,
Right, he's under contract.
we have $1,500.
$1,400.
$1,400 to spend.
So before
And
that,
we're not gonna use them right this second, because we gotta make sure to grab everything together. I mean, for me to, it's gonna cost me more, and I hope I don't have to have him do an RFP for his own consulting.
There you go.
But it's just one of those.
I think Mr. Clark had to write up something that his.
Whatever, you got a
I mean,
motion, do you have a second?
So, we can do it, I mean.
The DDA's temporary director.
So we'll,
RFP, and I'm sure he'll
RP
have that.
consulting with.
Yes, you have a
RP
second, yeah.
consulting.
Or did you second it, Megan, or?
Not yet, but I will now.
Oh,
Second that.
Romeo.
'Cause he's writing out the motion, it hadn't been seconded yet.
I have to go home, and write all these minutes right now. Alright, so the RFP for consulting for the Village of Romeo. Are we just gonna go strictly with OPEB and pension? What are we gonna do? Because
That's what I'm asking, what's the scope of consulting services?
because it seems like that's the last big ticket item that we're rolling on, but.
Sure.
And OPEB and pension.
I got it on there already.
Okay.
Make
Pension
sure,
and OPEB.
all you guys agree with my resolutions I write up for you guys.
But again, I'm saying, we already have somebody under contract to do
There's
it. Why would we
There's a
consider
motion,
going?
there's a
Okay.
motion, and
Okay,
let's
I'm just, it
see
doesn't
how
make
it
sense.
goes.
Bartholomew.
No.
Edwards.
No.
Fowler.
He's still absent.
No.
Malzahn.
No.
Paz. President Siddle.
Yes.
Leon.
All right.
Alright, so, right now, until we gather the information, get everything all whole,
Yeah.
what we really need to really concentrate on, we won't need Mr. Vitrino's services until we get that committee rolling, got everything together.
Well, let's have the committee, I would think the committee can maybe do some things without having him there, just to understand. I'd like to know what our current pension agreement is, what the increases are, what do we have? And I'd like the subcommittee to maybe do a little bit of a step to look at what our current contract is. We didn't look, all we looked at were our union contracts. The non-union portion of our retirees and our things, I think the subcommittee would look at that and not wait. We don't need James at that point, but I think the subcommittee should get together at least to review that information. That would be my that would be my hope. To not just wait until Michigan's gonna do, we just need to gather information. That would be my hope. Do you agree?
Yeah.
So, I wouldn't, I think the subcommittee meet, and probably not with James.
Well, yeah, we can gather as much information as we can. We already got the head start, we understand the pension is fine. Well, not fine, but we're working to resolve it.
Yep.
And then the OPEB, I mean, we can just.
The OPEB isn't, I think,
We got a couple feelers. out
that's
there.
a slower one, but I think the pension stuff we should be looking at. At least, pension retiree benefits, that's what we need to look at, that we're non-union, because we haven't looked at those again. We just looked at the union, but we didn't look at those, and we should. We should just see what that is. And maybe it's fine, but we don't know.
Council comments? I really don't wanna hear anymore.
Yes, I got one, just,
Never would've
Happy
guessed that.
Thanksgiving.
Never would've guessed that.
the one thing that, I don't know to bring it up, but on the agenda, I think we should be proactive with, we know the school bond went through. We know that the middle school is intended probably in 3 years or so is gonna be torn down, I think, at this point. And they're not gonna be using the building that's on Main Street. So whether we get the planning commission involved, we know we've got a heads up that those things are happening, and I think we should start making a plan on what we're gonna do with that property.
Well, I know what we do, because once it reverts back, it has to revert back to the most stringent of all zoning, which is residential. And it's in single-family residential, which is located within R1.
Right, so if,
And both the administration and that, but we don't know what the school's aspects are in the first place.
but I think they're gonna be out of that building at some point, so, now the thing is, it is kind of a historic cool building, would it be something, at least I'd like the planning commission to maybe review what they would wanna do, because that is the first thing to go to be that stringent, but maybe that particular building, because of historic, sometimes we are a historic place, maybe that building does have a place, maybe it could be a condo or something, but kept in that historic thing. It may be a horrible idea, but my point is, we should be looking at ideas. We got a heads up, we got a couple years, rather than, oh, okay, it's vacant, what are we gonna do? See what they come back with a recommendation.
Goes in there, trying to tear it down.
It's really not up to us
Kind of the
as
same
Tampa,
thing
but I understand what you're thinking.
We should ask them, right, no,
Well, and they don't know what they're gonna do.
and what they're gonna sell, but we should start looking at those two areas
It
are
turned
gonna
out
be
to be-
vacant.
It turned out to be twice as much for the demo than they think to want everything else.
But-
Just do what the Lions
Well, I don't wanna
buy,
comment,
just
but
let it
to,
ride.
That's what they can do.
The
Lions do that.
I know you didn't wanna comment much on it, but could you comment on Waterford, or Howell High School tobacco you just experienced?
Just a couple, just quick schools. The marijuana ordinance was changed throughout the state. Everybody that comes in to see me wants to know what we're gonna do about it. Right now, we have an ordinance that is against it, prohibits it. We deemed it, because it's federally illegal, that it is illegal here. Well, it can go to the federal judges if we wanna fight that anymore. But it might be something that I've been gathering information. If the state is forcing us to put it into a district, then we can move forward there. But there's that stuff that's out there right now that we gotta kinda deal with. I wish people that come in and talk to me about this could put 2 sentences together also, and not smell like weed every time they come to the place. But, that's something that we'll have to be looking at here in the near future too. And it's gonna probably revolve around steps with the planning commission first, and then us if we allow it. Because they can put it right in the downtown, right next to the ice cream places or anything like that, so. 6 one way to have them the other. It's probably gonna be here, but it's definitely something we're gonna have to look at here in the quick near future.
Well, I think I wanted to bring that up 6 months ago, so we
You
could
did.
plan for it.
You
And
did.
not be scrambling.
Yeah, you did. But then we didn't
Yes,
have
you
it
did.
voted in though until, it didn't go through the state though, it went through, the House pushed it through, I think, or, can't remember exactly what, but. I talked too much.
Anything else?
Somebody got an
I
adjournment?
have a comment. I would like to address Megan's defamatory statements regarding the DDA. I would ask you to please revisit that time and watch those meetings. I did lead suing the village. It was a motion by this board, which I was not a member at that time, to disband the DDA. And it was the DDA's action to ask them to reconsider, because the village would have lost $55,000 a year, which is income coming from Bruce Township and Washington Township, that would have been sent back to other areas like the zoo or some other. Macomb Community
The
College.
veterans.
So that's money that has
Instead of
retained
flowers.
in the village, that you've been
Veterans
able
will be
to spend in the village. The consent judgment agreement was part of the village council's way to balance their budget. I have been a proponent of looking for areas within the budget where we can give the money back to the DDA. I have encouraged the DDA leadership to bring a project forth so that we can find a reason in our budget to give the money back to the DDA. I'm a strong supporter of the DDA. I sit downtown, I pay that tax. I led that charge proudly to save this village money and to retain that DDA as an active part of our community.
As much as I don't wanna get into this debate, half of your information that you just said was incorrect.
And it's not defamatory to state facts.
And I mean,
What was
we can,
incorrect?
a good, but I don't wanna get into the debate. I mean, if we wanna talk about it, we can go forever on this. So, but I know you like to throw it out there, but I just wanna make sure that everybody knows that a lot of that information is incorrect.
You could revisit your consent judgment agreement at any time and ask this council to refund or to find money in the budget so that the DDA money is spent by the DDA authority. That's what it was created for. I'm a full supporter of that.
Who won the
And
argument?
everything, all the work that's being done in
Who won what
downtown.
argument?
Who won the court settlement?
It was the
DDA.
consent judgment
No,
agreement.
nobody, nobody done it. What are you talking about?
The village agreed to pay the DDA $110,000.
The taxpayers of the village lost, all right, because of that. Now, I mean, we can get into a long, deep conversation about
That
it.
isn't part of our meeting.
It agreed, what it was is it agreed, the consent judgment agreed to what the village asked the DDA to do in the first place. Instead, we had $50,000 loss on the DDA side because of the lawsuit, and another $5,000 on our side, all right? And it wound up to be the exact same. No matter what, all the municipalities throughout the whole area that have DDAs have been billing the DDAs for the work of the DPW services downtown. 6 one way, half another the other. We're gonna make sure that that's gonna be billed. Right now, it's the same thing as if we were gonna be building. So, I know, I can't.
There was $180,000 that was misappropriated.
No, it
and
wasn't.
ended
It
up
was what
getting
your
reconciled.
late president Reese didn't inform you guys of that information.
Sorry.
That's what it was.
That's why we paid them out.
So, and it
We're still
put us
paying
into
them $12,000 a year.
Yeah, it put us in a complete bind, everything. The water tower that we spent, everything. Every time I look at that stuff, no, we didn't. Every time we look at that stuff, all right, that I look at, it pisses me off more and more because of stupid decisions that this board had made in the past. So spending the money that we didn't have, we had to use that money, the DDA money, all right, to pay off the money that you guys spent for that water tower that we could have been bonded and paid off a long time ago. But now we're still on a consent judgment.
From Ford.
Well, Ford we already paid off, but everything else, I mean, that's how it worked out. Then we're still having to pay that amount of money. It just is a big cluster from a decade and a half ago that we're still having to relive right now, which pisses me off every time I have to look at it. So I just wish we would have made great decisions back then, which we didn't. So let's move forward.
Let's move
Positive.
forward.
Let's go. Anybody want to adjourn?
Adjourn, motion to adjourn.
Motion.
What time?
I'll support. We all support.
9:32.
We all support.
All in favor?
Who was the motion, who was the support? Okay.
I think so.